Chapter 1123. Many people in the serious battle arena had already guessed this possibility. In an instant, the atmosphere in the arena became tense. Everyone's eyes were glued to the arena, afraid that they would miss a single detail. The Golden Flood Dragon Clan's chief steward and 3 other Sovereign Realm experts rushed over from all directions, surrounding Red Oriole in the middle. Princess Blood Demon, are you determined to go against our Golden Flood Dragon Clan? The Golden Flood Dragon Clan's chief steward said in a deep voice. His tone was extremely gloomy. Now that he had confirmed the 3rd prince's death, the human brat, Mountain Ghost, had to die. Since Princess Blood Demon, Red Oriole, was protecting the human brat, there was no way the Golden Flood Dragon Clan's chief steward would let the matter rest. Even if the other party's identity was special, he didn't want to cower at this moment. One had to know that cowering at this moment meant that he was afraid. Not only would he lose, but he wouldn't be able to avenge the Golden Flood Dragon 3rd Prince. He would also lose face as an expert of the Golden Flood Dragon Clan. If he was afraid of Red Oriole and cowered, not only would he feel inferior when he met the members of the Blood Demon Clan in the future, he would also be reprimanded when he returned to the Golden Flood Dragon Clan. To the Chief Steward, there was no way he could back down now. Chief Steward, have you thought it through? From the start, am I the one going against you? Am I the one looking for trouble? Red Oriole wasn't the slightest bit afraid of the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan's chief steward. She giggled, then looked around and said loudly, "Everyone here knows that the duel between Hill Ghost and the 3rd Prince is fair and square. Whoever dies in the arena will have died for nothing. I would like to ask Chief Steward, if the one who died in the battle wasn't the 3rd Prince, but Mountain Ghost, what would the situation be like now? Could it be that we should gather a group of experts and vow to kill the 3rd Prince?" The last sentence, Red Oriole's rhetorical question, caused the experts of the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous race to feel somewhat ashamed. Logically speaking, that was indeed the case. How could a group of people come to take revenge after losing their life in a duel? Although that was the theory, in reality, this world was one where strength was respected. If it weren't for Red Oriole's status as the princess of the Blood Demon Clan, even if the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan and the others directly killed Red Oriole, Long Yu, and the others in one fell swoop, none of the millions of people present would jump out and raise any objections. This was reality. Strength was the root of everything. Enough with the nonsense. Hand over the Mountain Ghost, or we'll make our move. Even if you're the Blood Demon Princess, do you really think we won't dare to touch you? The head butler's face turned cold as he threatened. It seems like you really want to use your strength to bully the weak, to bully the few, to become a group of evil people. Not bad, not bad. It seems like the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan only has this much ability. If today's news were to be spread out, I'm afraid that no one would want to fight against your Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan in the future. Red Oriole giggled. She didn't make any movements, but her body emitted a bloody aura. In battle, her aura was extremely terrifying. Even though she was only a greater Sovereign Realm expert, at this moment, she was actually on par with the 4 Sovereign Realm experts of the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan. This caused many people to be shocked. She was clearly just a greater Sovereign Realm expert. How was she able to resist the aura of 4 Sovereign Realm experts? As expected of the Blood Demon Princess, it seemed that the rumor that Princess Shui Yao was one of the most talented demonic cultivators of the younger generation in the territory of the demon race was true. She was only in her 20s now, and in a few years, she would probably grow into an overlord. Since that's the case, I'm sorry. Go. The Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan's head butler knew that they couldn't delay any longer. If they delayed for too long, too many unforeseen events might occur. The best thing to do now was to capture Red Oriole alive. If they could capture Red Oriole alive and bring her back to the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan's territory, then everything would be fine. In any case, they didn't harm the Blood Demon Princess. When the Blood Demon Clan came looking for them, it would be easier to negotiate. At the very least, they had to control the Blood Demon Princess and kill the human race mountain ghost hiding in her small world. Following the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan's head butler's order, a total of 4 sovereign realm experts moved out. The 4 of them joined hands, and their power was world-shaking. Every one of them was a peak expert in this world. At this moment, the entire serious battle arena trembled. They finally made a move. Everyone in the serious battle arena sighed with emotion. However, everyone was extremely excited. After all, how could they possibly see a clash between 2 high-level experts of the demon race? Now that the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan and the Blood Demon Princess were facing off, it was obvious that a good show was about to unfold. No one was willing to miss such an exciting scene. Not far away, Hong Jun was surrounded by 10 sovereign realm experts. Seeing his sister being surrounded, he wasn't anxious at all. Instead, he was leisurely eating fruits. "You want to touch my sister? The few of you are still too inexperienced." Hong Jun narrowed his eyes and looked at the arena. He didn't seem worried for Red Oriole at all. From the looks of it, he was very confident in Red Oriole. This confused the other Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan members. One had to know that Red Oriole was a higher Sovereign Realm expert. She was facing 4 Sovereign Realm experts. Any one of them could contend against her, let alone the 4 of them working together. "Can you catch me?" Red Oriole couldn't help but giggle when she saw the 4 of them attacking her. One of them even used a mental control technique. Then, her blood-red figure floated away and disappeared without any warning. Disappeared. Red Oriole's figure actually disappeared completely in an instant. Not even a trace of her aura was left behind. Where did she run off to? The expressions of the 4 Sovereign Realm experts changed at the same time. They recalled that Red Oriole had used an illusion clone to hide from them at the very beginning. She had sneaked up to Long Yu's side. Thus, they remembered that they had overlooked something. Red Oriole was a higher Sovereign Realm expert. She indeed couldn't fight against the 4 of them. But what if Red Oriole focused on escaping? Even if the 4 of them worked together, they might not be able to catch Red Oriole. "Watch me." Among the 4 Sovereign Realm experts, one of them instantly transformed into his Golden Flood Dragon form. Golden light instantly illuminated the entire Celestial Wolf arena. He had actually used an extremely powerful detection ability. They believed that Red Oriole was still in the Celestial Wolf arena. After all, the space here was sealed. No one could leave. Even if an existence like Grandmaster by Yun could break through the spatial seal set up by the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan experts, they would still be able to sense it instantly. Currently, there was no movement from the spatial seal. This meant that Red Oriole was clearly still in the arena. Of course, it was impossible for Red Oriole to hide in her small world like Long Yu. If she did that, the medium of her small world, which was the blood-red pendant on her neck, would be completely exposed. Let alone a sovereign. Even a random cultivator at the level of Emperor could easily destroy the blood-red pendant. If that happened, Red Oriole's small world would collapse, and her body would be severely injured. Therefore, it was impossible for Red Oriole to hide in her small world, nor could she leave the Celestial Wolf arena. As long as the experts of the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan searched carefully, they would definitely be able to find Red Oriole. At this moment, it was as if Red Oriole had disappeared from the world. Not a single person in the arena knew where she was. The Sovereign Expert used his detection ability. Golden light enveloped the entire Celestial Wolf arena, but he still couldn't find a single place to hide. He had completely lost track of Red Oriole. It was simply too difficult to find her. The time it took for an incense stick to burn passed quickly. Everyone from the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan was mobilized to search for Red Oriole, but they still couldn't find her. Finally, the situation in the arena changed once again. With a loud laugh from Prince Red Monarch, a large group of Demon Clan experts wearing blood-red armor charged into the Celestial Wolf arena. This time, the aura of these Demon Clan experts was even more tyrannical than the aura of the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan. In fact, it was countless times more oppressive. This group of Demon Clan experts was wearing blood-red armor. Every single one of them had an incomparably dense killing intent. A wave of killing intent instantly filled the entire Celestial Wolf Arena. Other than the elegant figure in the lead, all the other Demon Clan experts in blood-red armor were only at the level of Emperor. None of them were at the Sovereign Secret Realm. But even so, the aura of this group was several times denser than the aura of everyone from the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan added together. Murderous aura, awe-inspiring. The person in the lead was none other than Red Monarch and Red Oriole's long-awaited cousin, Xueluo. He was the commander of the Emperor who had just returned from the battlefield against the foreign invaders. He was a Sovereign Secret Realm martial artist, and his actual combat strength was probably on par with Master Bai Yun's. I, Xueluo, am here. Who dares to be presumptuous? Xueluo appeared. His figure was faintly discernible. Although he had a murderous aura, there was a kind of lightness to him. He was quite handsome. His red hair danced in the wind. With a single glare from him, the situation in the arena froze. The experts of the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan, who were searching for Red Oriole, suddenly froze in place. Xueluo had actually come. He was one of the strongest experts of the Blood Demon Clan. It would not be an exaggeration to say that Xueluo was one of the pillars of the Blood Demon Clan's overall strength. If Red Oriole died, the Blood Demon Clan would only lose a rising star. Their overall strength would not be greatly affected. But if Xueluo died, the overall strength of the Blood Demon Clan would drop by at least 30%. Chapter 1124. Master Bai Yun had originally walked to the side, but when he saw Xueluo appear, he narrowed his eyes with interest. Xueluo, interesting. It seems that this person has been here for a long time and is waiting for the right time to appear. This is really putting the Golden Flood Dragon Clan in a difficult position. Master Bai Yun thought of what Long Yu and Red Oriole had said and nodded to himself. It seemed that his guess was correct. They were indeed waiting for someone, but he didn't expect them to be waiting for Xueluo. He had overheard the conversation between Long Yu and Red Oriole. Long Yu had mentioned that it was Red Oriole's cousin. As the princess of the Blood Demon Clan, Red Oriole had many cousins. Naturally, Master Bai Yun couldn't be sure which one was coming. Now that he had seen Xueluo, there was no need for Master Bai Yun to stay any longer. Since Xueluo had appeared, needless to say, the situation in the arena was completely leaning towards Red Oriole's side. On the entire King Killer planet, apart from the two elders of the King Killer Demon Clan, who would dare to be impudent in front of Xueluo. As for the two elders, they naturally wouldn't come out for the sake of a junior. Otherwise, they would have no place to hide their face. Interesting. That kid would rather risk his life than take me as his master. How courageous! Master Bai Yun thought of Long Yu and laughed. Finally, he turned around and left, completely disappearing from the Sirius Coliseum. Although the entire Coliseum was sealed for Master Bai Yun, this method of sealing space had no effect on him. If he wanted to, he could leave at any time. As for the expert of the Blood Demon Clan who had just arrived, Xueluo, the cousin of the Blood Demon Prince and the Blood Demon Princess, of course, ignored the sealed space around the Sirius Coliseum and barged in. It was clear that he was much stronger than the butler of the Golden Flood Dragon Clan. When Xueluo arrived, his oppressive voice resounded across the entire Coliseum. All the cultivators in the Coliseum were stunned. Be it humans or demons, no one expected Xueluo to appear here. Who didn't know of Xueluo's great name? In the battlefield of the foreign races, Xueluo was a top-tier expert. He had killed one super-strong foreign race expert after another. Especially in a battle against the Ice God Clan, Xueluo single-handedly slaughtered 13 Ice God Clan sovereigns, shocking the entire battlefield. That battle had caused the Ice God Clan to suffer heavy losses. At the same time, Xueluo's name had spread far and wide. Be it the Human Clan or the Demon Clan, Xueluo's name had spread far and wide. It could be said that he was a hero of the Demon Clan. When Xueluo appeared, everyone was stunned. For a moment, the entire Tianlang dojo became silent. Under the silence, the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan's experts all stopped what they were doing. Let alone the fact that they couldn't find Red Oriole in such a short time. Even if they could, they would have to consider whether it was necessary to clash with Xueluo. Previously, the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous beasts had only dared to act impudently because Hong Jun and Hong Ying, the two juniors, were here. But now, Xueluo had arrived. If they dared to act recklessly, wouldn't they be courting death? The face of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan's chief steward immediately turned black. He didn't expect Xueluo to come. He was neither Hong Jun nor Hong Ying. Naturally, he didn't know that Xueluo was resting at home. It was even more impossible for him to know that Hong Jun and Hong Ying had informed Xueluo to rush over 3 days before the challenge began. Of course, it wouldn't take as long as 3 days to rush over through the space-time imprint. But the problem was that the Killer King's star was very far from the Blood Demon Galaxy. It took 1.5 days to deliver the news to Xueluo. Xueluo had rushed over without rest, and it only took him 3 days. Fortunately, he had made it in time. Lord Xueluo, the chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan, reluctantly led his men to greet Xueluo. The reason why he addressed Xueluo as Lord was because Xueluo was the commander of the Foreign Race Battlefield's Emperor. In the entire Demon Clan's territory, which faction had the strongest overall strength? It was definitely not a single Demon Clan, but the Foreign Race Battlefield's Legion. The Foreign Race Battlefield's Legion had gathered a large number of the strongest demon cultivators in the entire Demon Clan's territory. They fought on the Foreign Race Battlefield, constantly resisting the Foreign Race's attacks on the Demon Clan's territory, and also trying to expand the Demon Clan's territory. This group of people was the strongest in the Demon Clan. Xueluo was the Emperor's commander. In the Foreign Race Battlefield's Legion, he could be considered as one of the top officials. The chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan was nothing in front of Xueluo. In terms of strength, Xueluo could kill a great dominator like the chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan in one breath. One could imagine the gap between them. Of course, there was still a small gap between Xueluo and Master Bai Yin. Master Bai Yin was about to become a demigod and was only one step away from the final bottleneck. However, Xueluo was still a few steps away. Even so, Xueluo was already strong enough to rescue his younger brother and sister from a place like the King Killer Planet. Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan, I heard that you wanted to harm my younger brother and sister. Is this true? Xueluo floated forward and shouted at the chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan. The chief steward's face had already turned black. At this moment, he had no choice but to answer honestly. Lord Xueluo, this is a false rumor. Our Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan is only here to find a young human who killed our third prince. This has nothing to do with the Blood Demon clan. Is that so? I heard that the human is my younger brother's sworn brother. Xueluo narrowed his eyes and said to the chief steward, since he is my younger brother's sworn brother, he is also my sworn brother. If you want to harm him, it is the same as attacking me. Do you understand? This, the chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan, widened his eyes. He didn't expect Xueluo to directly protect that human brat. Sworn brother. In this world, there were many human experts who were qualified to become sworn brothers with Xueluo. However, the chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan felt that the Brat Mountain Ghost would never be one of them. However, the fact that Mountain Ghost had killed the third prince of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan still shocked the chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan. It could be seen that Mountain Ghost's strength was not ordinary, but he was still not qualified to be sworn brothers with Xueluo. Of course, this wasn't the time to discuss the issue of being sworn brothers. Xueluo had already made it clear that he was protecting Mountain Ghost of the human race. The experts of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan could either retreat now or fight Xueluo to the end. However, fighting Xueluo head-on, were they seeking death? In the entire Golden Flood Dragon monstrous clan, There were only 1 or 2 experts who could barely resist Luo. One should know that the top experts of the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan couldn't even compare to the king of the Demon Monsters clan, let alone the Blood Demon clan, which had a galaxy all to themselves. Lord Luo, this matter, the chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan, was not willing to leave just like that. He still wanted to try and persuade the other party to release Long Yu. No matter what, he had to persist and see if there was any hope. If he couldn't avenge the third prince, he would definitely be punished when he returned. What? Is there any other problem? Luo didn't wait for the chief steward to finish speaking. He frowned and said, I've already made it very clear. Hurry up and leave. If I change my mind, none of you will be able to leave. As soon as he finished speaking, the Emperor-level experts in blood-red armor who were originally following behind Luo spread out and surrounded the entire serious battle arena. A bloodthirsty aura filled the entire serious battle arena. The millions of people in the arena felt as though death was descending upon them. It was as though if they moved even the slightest bit, they would be shredded to pieces by a torrential storm of attacks. This feeling was extremely strange. This was because the serious battle arena didn't lack experts in the sovereign secret realm. There were even mid-level sovereigns, high-level sovereigns, and a few great sovereigns hidden in the crowd. Regardless of who it was, everyone felt a terrifying killing intent at this moment. The source of this killing intent was actually Luo, who was standing in the middle of the arena. Luo's killing intent spread through the Emperor-level experts under him. In an instant, it spread throughout the entire arena. The chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon race was unable to utter a single word. After holding in for a long time, the chief steward could only say in an extremely sullen voice, Then I won't disturb Lord Luo. Sullen, sullen, and sullen. The chief steward of the Golden Flood Dragon race hadn't felt so sullen in the past few decades. However, in front of Luo, an expert who had returned from the battlefield of the foreign races, he had no choice but to swallow his anger. Strength reigned supreme. Before Luo arrived, the chief steward was incomparably arrogant. He even dared to touch Red Oriole. Now, however, he was acting like a tortoise. In front of Luo, he could only endure. Then why aren't you scramming? I'll count to 3. If you don't leave by then, don't blame me for being impolite. Luo's expression turned extremely cold. It was as though he was about to start a massacre in the next moment. For someone of his status, killing a few sovereigns on the King Killer planet was nothing. With the support of the foreign races, who would dare to touch him? Whoever dared to touch Luo would become the enemy of the entire demon race. Luo's status and authority were among the top on the King Killer planet. Apart from the old patriarch of the King Killer demon race, no one else had the qualifications to talk to him. However, the old patriarch definitely wouldn't appear at this time. Under the lead of their chief steward, the Golden Flood Dragon race could only leave with their tails between their legs. They didn't dare to wait for Luo to count to 3. Otherwise, if Luo really killed them, it would be too late for them to regret. After all, experts who returned from the battlefield of the foreign races usually had thick killing intent. There were many who would kill without saying a word. The Golden Flood Dragon race didn't dare to take the risk. To be honest, they were already prepared to attack Red Oriole. However, Luo didn't pursue the matter. This was already giving them face. If he really wanted to be serious, Luo wouldn't let any of them leave. All right, come out. Chapter 1125. Everybody followed Luo's line of sight and discovered that Red Oriole had not disappeared. She had merely hidden herself among the millions of cultivators in the arena and changed her appearance. Red Oriole was adept at all kinds of concealment methods. What she was doing now was the easiest. All she needed to do was cover up her own aura, transform into someone else's appearance, and hide in the crowd. The Gold Flood Dragon demons would not be able to find her even if they searched for her for years. Even if she was found, she could quickly transform into another appearance and hide again. In the meantime, what was even more impressive about Red Oriole was that she had practiced a powerful secret martial art that was related to the ability of deduction. The secret martial art was a secret of the Blood Demon clan. It could greatly enhance the deduction ability of the Blood Demon clan, which made it easier for her to deduce other people's information while making it difficult for others to deduce her own information. Such a secret martial art was very important for the Blood Demon clan. The Blood Demon clan had risen to prominence partly because of such a secret martial art. There were only 3 ways for cultivators to perceive the information of the outside world. The first way was with the naked eye. For cultivators, this method was relatively low-end, but it was one of the most commonly used methods. The second way was through spiritual senses. For example, Long Yu's dark shadow eyes and balance control were all within the scope of spiritual senses. The third way was deduction. When the spiritual senses and the naked eye were unable to obtain information, cultivators would use the ability of deduction to deduce the information of the target. In comparison, the naked eye was the simplest and the most direct method. It did not consume any time or energy. One could obtain information by looking at the target. However, such a method had a lot of limitations. Most importantly, for the Emperor and above, who didn't have some tricks of camouflage. For example, Long Yu did not specialize in camouflage, but in the arena, he still relied on visual deception to secretly regenerate the devil heart without anybody noticing. This was the biggest limitation for cultivators to perceive the information of the outside world after their spiritual senses and deductions were blocked. Spiritual sense was what cultivators used the most. Its specialty was that it was able to see far, clearly, accurately, and completely. For example, Long Yu's shadow eyes. As long as he activated it, he would be able to clearly see everything within a 10,000 li radius. Unless someone was deliberately trying to confuse him, or if someone was intentionally blocking certain information, there would be some deviation in his perception. Long Yu's balance control was a kind of shielding, secret martial art. It could also enhance the sensitivity of one's spiritual senses, which was very useful in battles. In comparison, the secret martial arts technique of the Blood Demon clan that enhanced the deduction ability was similar to Long Yu's balance control. For example, as long as Red Oriole blocked her spiritual senses and the deduction ability and changed her appearance, nobody would be able to find her at all. Of course, deduction was the most violent method of detection, but in fact, it was the method that was used the least. After all, deduction required time, and the fact that one was deducing would be exposed, which could alert the enemy. Long Yu knew all of the 3 ways to sense the outside world and gather information. However, he was most proficient in spiritual sense perception. In this aspect, it could be said that he surpassed the vast majority of cultivators in the same realm. There were only a few who could be on par with him in the Human Clan and Demon Clan's territory. Of course, as one's martial art level increased, one's spiritual senses would naturally become stronger and stronger. Therefore, Long Yu could only be ranked among the top cultivators of the same level, but it did not mean that he had surpassed everybody in this aspect. After Shualuo said that, Red Oriole directly appeared from the crowd and flew to the center of the arena. At the same time, she changed back to her original appearance. The red shadow attracted the attention of most people in the arena. On the other side, Hong Jun also flew over. He grinned and said, "Luckily, cousin brother came in time. Thank goodness. Otherwise, I'm afraid that my sister would have been killed." "Go to hell. You're the one who will be killed." Red Oriole came over and kicked him away. Then, Long Yu reappeared in the serious arena, pulled out from the blood-red pendant on Red Oriole's chest. "You're Long Yu?" Shualuo was handsome and elegant. He did not look like a general, but of course, cultivators could not be judged with common sense. Shualuo raised his hand and shielded the surroundings so that they could chat freely without being heard by others. "Not bad." Long Yu nodded his head and glanced at Shualuo. He could feel the gentlemanly aura and killing intent radiating from Shualuo, causing him to be quite surprised. He didn't expect Shualuo to not be a burly man, but a handsome young man. "Ha! I heard from Hong Jun and Red Oriole that your martial talent is not bad. Moreover, you are related to the saintess of the Juyo tribe, Consort Yu. At the mention of the name Consort Yu, Shui Luo narrowed his eyes. The last time I saw Consort Yu was 5 years ago. At that time, she was only an upper-level ruler. After 5 years, I wonder how strong she is now. Consort Yu is not much older than Red Oriole. Red Oriole, was a little unconvinced. This was clearly Shui Luo looking down on her while attaching importance to Consort Yu. Of course, Red Oriole could not be bothered to say anything. The danger from the Golden Flood Dragon demonic race had just been resolved. It was time to relax. As they chatted, they walked towards the space-time imprint transfer array near the Sirius battle arena, preparing to leave this place. After all, this was not their territory. It was better to leave early. Perhaps the Golden Flood Dragon demonic race or the King Killer Beast race would send some older experts to cause trouble for them. That would not be fun. The battle between Long Yu and the third prince of the Golden Flood Dragon demonic race had finally ended. In the end, Long Yu killed the third prince, and the Golden Flood Dragon demonic race suffered heavy losses. The third prince was dead, and they lost face. In the end, they did not gain anything. However, in the end, the third prince had brought this upon himself. Long Yu had only challenged the Yuan race and the Soul race in the bloody battlefield, and the third prince had set his sights on him. The third prince had challenged him out of jealousy. The third prince had tasted the bitter fruit. Long Yu had never taken the initiative to provoke the third prince. If this matter was spread out, the reputation of the Golden Flood Dragon demonic race would definitely fall. For the time being, the cause of the duel between Long Yu and the third prince had not spread out. But this time, how could the King Killer Beast race, who had always been competing with the Golden Flood Dragon demonic race, give up this opportunity? What happened in the bloody battlefield would certainly be widely publicized, which would further affect the influence of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous race. In this way, the Killing King monstrous race's position in the Iron Wall galaxy would be even more consolidated, which would only bring benefits and no harm. As for the Blood Demon clan, they did not seem to have gained any benefits. Naturally, the Slayer King Demon was too lazy to care about it. Even if the Blood Demon clan had gained a lot of benefits, it had nothing to do with the Slayer King Demon. After all, the Blood Demon clan would not invade their Iron Wall galaxy. It should be noted that the Blood Demon clan owned the entire Blood Demon galaxy. In the territory of the Demon clan, no Demon clan was allowed to own more than one galaxy. The storm had calmed down. Long Yu, Hong Jun, Hong Ying, and Shui Luo came to the nearby space-time mark transmission array. Now that Long Yu had nearly 50 million demon coins with him, he could naturally afford the space-time mark transmission array. It was time to set off for Chi Ming Galaxy, the territory of the White Feather Demon race. Of course, before they left, they had to say goodbye to Hong Jun and the others. It's a pity that before the duel, the third prince said that he would give 100 million demon coins if he lost. Now, the people of the Golden Flood Dragon demonic race have it easy. Hong Jun looked a little regretful. Why didn't you say so earlier? If you had, I would have asked them to pay before they left. When Shui Luo heard this, a look of regret appeared on his face. You wastrel, you didn't even tell me about the 100 million demon coins. I really want to beat you to death. You're blaming me? Hong Jun was instantly angry. You only cared about showing off when you came. Did you even look at me? I wanted to come up and tell you, but you just let them go. Oh, is that so? When Shui Luo heard this, he immediately laughed. If that's the case, then it's fine. Let's go. It's only 100 million demon coins. It's no big deal. I can earn it in 2 days at the battlefield of the foreign races. He. Hong Jun was speechless. There was nothing he could say to this cousin of his who was so thick-skinned. By the way, Long Yu, when you fought with the third prince, he should have used a divine grade absolute beginning item, right? Hong Ying, who was walking behind with Long Yu, suddenly thought of this and asked. Hong Jun and Shui Luo walked in front, while Long Yu and Hong Ying walked behind. As for the other experts of the Emperor that Shui Luo brought along, they were at the back. There were a total of more than 100 people, and each of them was an elite from the battlefield of the foreign races. Simply put, each of these Emperor experts had the ability to kill an abyss race of the same realm alone. As for the soul race, that race was too special, so there was no guarantee. However, it was clear that the training these Emperor experts had gone through in the battlefield of the foreign races was far beyond that of the third prince of the golden WIRM demon race. I do have one, but I don't think it'll be of much use. I'm going to keep it for now. Long Yu nodded. There's no need to hide this. After all, Red Ing had directly pulled him into her minor world to protect him. Their relationship could be said to be close, and they were both trustworthy. A divine grade absolute beginning item is not the same as an ordinary battle weapon. If you want to use it yourself or give it to others, remember that it has to be compatible with the attributes of a divine grade absolute beginning item. Otherwise, it won't be able to unleash much of its power. It might even be inferior to some unbounded battle weapons. Red Oriole warned. All right, many thanks. Long Yu nodded. Of course, Red Ying's reminder was useful. The attributes of a divine grade absolute beginning item were indeed very important. Chapter 11:26. As for the absolute beginning divine grade item that Long Yu had obtained, Red Oriole, of course, would not covet it. After this topic, it was time to talk about their destination. Long Yu, where do you plan to go next? Do you want to follow us back to the Blood Demon Galaxy? Red Oriole invited Long Yu with a smile. No, I plan to meet a friend first. He's in Chiming Galaxy, a member of the White Feather Monster clan. Long Yu shook his head. He had already delayed for a long time. He was going to Chiming Galaxy to find like Qing Feng for two reasons. On the one hand, he wanted to find a stable cultivation environment. On the other hand, he wanted to test the bloodline of the Holy Emperor to see if the Holy Emperor really had the bloodline of the White Feather Monster clan. Of course, if it was a stable cultivation environment, he could also find it if he followed Red Oriole to the Blood Demon Galaxy. However, the Blood Demon clan probably did not have a tool to test the bloodline of the Holy Emperor. Every race of Yao cultivators had a special and unique bloodline. Even races that looked similar in appearance had great differences in their bloodlines. Chiming Galaxy? There seems to be some unrest there recently. You have to be careful if you want to go there. Shueluo, the commander of the Emperor clan, who was walking in front, turned around and said with some surprise, Unrest. Long Yu furrowed his brows when he heard this. This was a situation that he had never thought of. If there really was an upheaval, then the cultivation environment would not be particularly peaceful. How about this? I'll go with Brother Long. I can take care of him along the way. Red Oriole narrowed her eyes and said with some bad intentions, TCH, sister, you just want to follow Long Yu so that you can have a chance to meet the saintess of the Joyo clan, consort you, right? Hong Jun said disdainfully, but with you following Brother Long Yu, there won't be any problems. There's no need to worry about safety. It's just that there might be some trouble in other aspects. What kind of trouble? Red Oriole asked. If the two of you walk together, wouldn't that make you a man and a woman alone? What kind of trouble do you think there will be? Hong Jun said wretchedly. Do you believe that I won't kill you? Red Oriole raised her eyebrows and immediately released a murderous aura, causing Hong Jun to not dare say another word. Shueluo laughed and patted Hong Jun on the shoulder. Little brother, it seems like your sister has taught you a lot of things these years, but you asked for it, so you can't blame anyone else. When Hong Jun heard this, his face darkened. However, he didn't dare to say anything. Everyone arrived at the time-space imprint transmission array, paid the demon coins, and prepared to leave the King Killer Planet. When Long Yu first arrived at Murdering King Planet, he had to fly for 2 to 3 months from the ancient ruins in the Starry River. But now, he could leave Murdering King Planet and use the space-time imprint transmission array to instantly cross half the distance of the Starry River. This was the difference. Now that Long Yu had nearly 50 million demon coins on him, it would be a piece of cake for him to use the space-time imprints teleportation array. Moreover, with Red Monarch, Red Oriole, and the others, there was no need for Long Yu to pay for it himself. Then, we'll be heading back. Be careful on the road. Inform us if anything happens. We'll be there as soon as possible." When they arrived at the space-time imprint transmission array, Shui Luo, Hong Jun, and the others left first. Before leaving, Shui Luo said to Red Oriole and Long Yu, then waved his hand and disappeared from the space-time imprint transmission array. They were rushing back to the Blood Demon Galaxy. They were going a different direction from Long Yu and Red Oriole. Even if it was a space-time imprint transmission array, there was a limit to its teleportation distance. Therefore, Long Yu couldn't teleport to Chime Galaxy in one go. Instead, he needed to go to Iron Wall Galaxy's Demon Jade planet. Long Yu didn't expect that Red Oriole would go with him. But even if he wanted to refuse, he couldn't. Red Oriole was a super expert in the higher sovereign realm. If Long Yu dared to refuse, she would probably slap him to death. However, it wasn't bad to have a beautiful woman accompany him on the journey. In any case, Long Yu didn't need to hide anything from Red Oriole. Destination: Demon Jade Planet. Long Yu and Red Oriole stepped into the space-time imprint transmission array after Red Oriole paid the demon coins for him. Logically speaking, the space-time imprint transmission array had a time limit. But for Red Oriole, Shui Luo, and the other nobles of the Blood Demon clan, they naturally had a special privilege to open the space-time imprint transmission array for them. Therefore, Long Yu basked in their glory and didn't wait too long near the space-time imprint transmission array. He directly teleported to Demon Jade Planet. The King Killer Planet and Demon Jade Planet were two of the 4 major cultivation planets of the Iron Wall Galaxy. The King Killer Planet was controlled by the King Killer Demon Clan. The Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan also controlled one of the 4 major cultivation planets of the Iron Wall Galaxy. Demon Jade Planet, on the other hand, was different from the King Killer Planet and the Golden Flood Dragon Star. On Demon Jade Planet, the organization that held the most power was a Demon Cultivator Alliance. There were all kinds of Demon Cultivator races in this organization. It was simply a paradise for wandering Demon Cultivators. On Demon Jade Planet, it was one of the few places in the entire demon race territory that didn't have any racial discrimination. Any demon cultivator race, as long as they belonged to the demon race, would receive due respect on Demon Jade Planet. Of course, the degree of respect also corresponded to one's strength. The stronger one was, the more respect one could receive from others. This was the truth everywhere. But on Demon Jade Planet, there were fewer racial factors compared to other places. Everything depended on one's strength. Even if it was a wandering, demonic cultivator without any background, as long as one had enough strength, one could join the ruling class of Monster Jade Star. However, on the King Killer Star and the Golden Flood Dragon Star, no matter how strong a wandering demon cultivator was, it was impossible for them to become a ruler. On these cultivation planets, the rulers were always the members of the King Killer Demon Clan and the Golden Flood Dragon Demon Clan. It was absolutely impossible for the demon cultivators of other races to have authority. From this point of view, for demon cultivators without any background, developing on Demon Jade Planet was much better than developing on other cultivation planets. At the very least, it was much fairer in many aspects. There were no privileged races here. Everything depended on strength. Relatively speaking, it was the fairest place. From the King Killer Star to Demon Jade Planet. After walking out of the space-time mark transmission array, Long Yu and Red Oriole immediately felt the difference in the atmosphere of the two places. Demon Jade Planet is the largest cultivation planet in the Iron Wall Celestial River. It's much bigger than the King Killer Star and the Golden Flood Dragon Star. You will see many special races here, which you rarely see in other places. In addition, Demon Jade Planet is close to the outer circle of the Iron Wall Celestial River, corresponding to the King Killer Star. Apparently, this was not Red Oriole's first time coming to Demon Jade Planet. She took the initiative to explain to Long Yu, in a monster race's territory, the Iron Wall Celestial River is the closest celestial river to the human race's territory. The King Killer Star is the closest planet to the human race's territory in the Iron Wall Celestial River, while Demon Jade Planet is the farthest cultivation planet in the Iron Wall Celestial River from the human race's territory. From Demon Jade Planet, you can teleport to more than a dozen other celestial rivers in the monster race's territory. Once you arrive here, you will truly enter the monster race's territory. It's true, there are many special races here. Long you followed Red Oriole to the largest city on Demon Jade Planet. At a glance, he could see many special monster cultivator races on the streets of this city. They did not take human form, but moved around in their original forms. For example, some bird-type Yao cultivators could fly in the air, and some beast-type Yao cultivators could run on the streets in a domineering manner. Of course, most of them were still in human form. This was almost a habit for Yao cultivators. This was something that originated from the first monster race emperor. It was rumored that in ancient times, the monster race emperor ruled the entire monster race and united tens of thousands of monster cultivator races to form the monster race. Because of this, the monster race was able to occupy a place in today's macro world. If the monster race still fought for itself like before, the entire monster race would have perished by now. The monster race emperor united tens of thousands of monster cultivator races and then made a decision to join forces with the human race to conquer the current monster race's territory. It could be said that it was an era where tens of thousands of races gathered. Since the beginning of the alliance with the human race, the monster race emperor felt that the tens of thousands of races in the monster race were too difficult to manage. In particular, during some important meetings, it would be particularly chaotic. Therefore, the monster race emperor took the lead in transforming into human form. Using the human form to unify the monster race's physical form, he created a set of very common illusionary martial skills. Basically, every monster cultivator had to learn this set of illusionary martial skills as soon as they were born. They could only transform into human form. Even now, the descendants of many monster cultivator races were automatically born with this set of illusionary martial skills. Like many other things, it had become an instinct. Because of this, the current monster race was able to develop in such a unified manner and was well managed. The legend of the monster race emperor resounded like thunder in the ears of the tens of thousands of races in the monster race. They didn't know how many times they had heard about it. They had long become accustomed to transforming into human form. However, after that, many monster cultivator races from other places continued to join the monster race. There were even some monster cultivators who had been wandering outside and did not have the habit of transforming into human form. These monster cultivators later returned to the monster race and became a member of the monster race. They were not too accustomed to transforming into human form. Most of them still moved around in their original form. Such monster cultivators were not welcomed in many places. Only in places like Monster Jadestar could they be accepted. When Long Yu set foot on the land of Monster Jadestar, he immediately felt the monster cultivator culture that was completely different from the King Killer planet. After a while, it's time to leave. I have to go to the auction house to see if there are any alchemy materials I need, as well as high-quality creations. Coming to such a prosperous planet, Long Yu couldn't help but want to spend some money. If he could improve his martial Dao realm, it would naturally be excellent. Then let's go together. Chapter 1127. All the cities on planet Fey Jade were basically in such a situation. Many Fey cultivators were mixed in, but order was not chaotic. After all, this was one of the 4 major cultivation planets of the Iron Wall Galaxy. The ruler managed it well. Long Yu and Red Oriole arrived at the entrance of the largest trading house in the largest city of planet Fey Jade. Before they entered, they heard the crowd discussing something fervently. The tomb of Demon Sage Thunderfire has been discovered. It said that it will open in 2 days. Should we go? It said that Demon Sage Thunderfire was a powerful alchemist when he was alive. There must be many good things in his tomb. Of course, I heard that there are countless alchemy ingredients in Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. One of the things I can confirm is that there must be rainbow crystal powder in his tomb. Rainbow crystal powder is a very precious alchemy ingredient. Rumor has it that many divine-grade pills require this ingredient. Isn't that so? Demon Sage Thunderfire's hometown produces rainbow crystal powder. Unfortunately, the production is very low. It's not enough for the entire Fey race. Even now, one tael of rainbow crystal powder is sold for 20 billion demon coins. It's still impossible to buy it. Demon Sage Thunderfire's hometown is now firmly controlled by the Thunderfire Fae. If we find some rainbow crystal powder in Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb, wouldn't we be rich? We have to go. Along the way, Long Yu and Red Oriole heard many similar discussions. It made Long Yu feel tempted. There was no other reason. Rainbow crystal powder was the supplementary ingredient Long Yu needed for alchemy. It could be used with the Rainbow Stone Egg to refine the 8 Extremes Blood Pill, Demonic Heavenly Speed Pill, Void Speed Pill, and Sacred Soul Heavenly Pill. The ingredients needed to refine these 4 pills were very complicated. It was very difficult for Long Yu to gather them, especially the supplementary ingredient, Rainbow Crystal Powder. It was extremely precious in the Fey Dominion and almost impossible to find in the Human Dominion. From discussions of the surrounding people, Long Yu learned that the 7-colored crystal powder was actually worth 20 billion demon coins, which was hard to afford even for the current Long Yu. Although he had nearly 50 million demon coins compared to 20 billion demon coins, it was still a far cry. If he wanted to refine any of the 8 Extreme Blood Pill, Demonic Heaven Speed Pill, Void Speed Pill, or Sacred Soul Heavenly Pill, he would need at least 1 tael of Rainbow Crystal Powder. Altogether, he would need 4 taels of it, which was worth 80 billion demon coins. Even if it was sold, Long Yu couldn't afford it. There might really be rainbow crystal powder in Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb. If he could obtain some after entering, it would undoubtedly save Long Yu a lot of effort. Something like the rainbow crystal powder is a legendary existence. Even Red Oriole felt a little emotional. Even with my status, I can't get my hands on the so-called God-level pills refined from rainbow crystal powder. Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb sounds like it's worth something, but since Brother Long is in a hurry to go to Chime Galaxy, let's forget about it. I'm not in a hurry to go to Qiming Celestial River. This rainbow crystal powder is extremely rare. I can use it to refine some special medicinal pills. I have 4 rainbow stone eggs on me. Each rainbow stone egg can be combined with a rainbow crystal powder to refine a powerful medicinal pill. That should be the God-grade medicinal pill you mentioned. Long Yu shook his head and said to Red Oriole. It was obvious that he was also very interested in Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb. Demon Sage Lightning Fire lived 1,000 years ago and was a powerful great ruler of the Demon Sage Lightning Fire. He was also the clan leader of the Demon Sage Lightning Fire 1,000 years ago. In the Iron Wall Galaxy, in addition to the King Killer Star, the J Monster Star, and the Golden WIRM Star, there was another great demon tribe called the Demon Sage Lightning Fire. Of course, the existence of the Demon Sage Lightning Fire was basically history. The current Demon Sage Lightning Fire could not be considered one of the 4 great demon tribes of the Iron Wall Galaxy. It had declined to a certain extent. It could only rely on producing 1 or 2 kilograms of rainbow crystal powder every 10 years to prevent it from completely declining. The Thunderfire clan was protected by the entire Demon Clan Alliance due to the fact that some of their powerful warriors had made special contributions to the entire Demon Clan in history. Therefore, no other major clans dared to target the rainbow crystal powder production area. During the era of Demon Sage Lightning Fire, the Demon Sage Lightning Fire was still one of the 4 great demon tribes of the Iron Wall Galaxy. However, after the death of Demon Sage Lightning Fire, the Demon Sage Lightning Fire began to decline. It was said that Demon Sage Lightning Fire was killed by a powerful soul tribe on the battlefield of a foreign tribe. Then, the foreign tribe's army on the battlefield transported his soulless body back and wanted to bury him. Unfortunately, his tomb was engulfed by the Star River turbulence, which was rarely seen in the outside world. As a result, no one was able to enter his tomb. Countless experts of the Thunderfire Monstrous clan who were traveling with him were killed in the Star River turbulence. Galactic turbulence was a natural disaster in a large world. It was a storm formed by a powerful and mysterious force. Even a grand ruler wouldn't be able to survive a galactic turbulence. 1,000 years later, when Long Yu arrived at J Monster Star, he happened to see the tomb of the demon sage Lightning Fire. As for the galaxy burst that destroyed the tomb, it had long been moved elsewhere. Brother Long, you have a rainbow stone egg? And 4 of them. Red Oriole was shocked when she heard Long Yu's words. The rainbow stone egg was a more precious alchemy material than the rainbow crystal powder. These stone eggs were said to be the fossils of some powerful creatures from ancient times. They were known as the legacy of the gods. If the value of the rainbow crystal powder could be measured in demon coins, then the rainbow stone egg was a priceless treasure, let alone 20 billion. Even if the price was set at 200 billion, there would definitely be a large number of people fighting for it. Long Yu did not know the value of the rainbow stone egg, so he did not realize how much wealth he had with him, even though he had 4 rainbow stone eggs. Of course it's true. What's wrong? Long Yu asked in surprise. Where did you get it? I heard that this thing has been extinct for hundreds of years. Every one of them is priceless. You actually have 4. This. Red Oriole could not believe it. She re-examined Long Yu and realized that she had not seen through him at all. It's nothing. It's just a legacy left behind by the Geo Dragon Emperor. Long Yu told the truth. In any case, he believed that Red Oriole would not covet his rainbow stone eggs. Moreover, Red Oriole already knew that he had the Netherworld realm. She could easily guess where he had gotten the rainbow stone eggs from. You're really lucky. Even I'm starting to be a little jealous of you. TSK. Red Oriole sized up Long Yu. Then, she pulled Long Yu with one hand and walked into the exchange hall. Since we have the rainbow stone eggs, we have to make a trip to Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. Otherwise, it would be too wasteful. 4 rainbow stone eggs and 4 tails of rainbow crystal powder are enough to refine 4 god-tier pills. Each of them can allow a cultivator to be reborn. Of course, before we go to Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb, we have to buy some things at the exchange hall and make some preparations. Tombs aren't fun. Furthermore, they have been ravaged by galactic turbulence. It's completely unpredictable what dangers there are. Red Oriole was also very experienced in exploring various ruins. Her experience in exploring various ruins was definitely much richer than Long Yu's. It had to be known that Long Yu had explored ruins in the Netherworld realm, and some ruins of the Bone Race, and other races in the galactic ruins. He had never seriously explored the tomb of an expert in a great world. One could imagine that there would definitely be many people heading to Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. The competition would also be very intense. Naturally, Long Yu was mentally prepared. Fortunately, he had Red Oriole with him. Otherwise, Long Yu really did not have the confidence to get involved in this mess. It had to be known that many Sovereign Realm experts would definitely covet a tomb of this level. One could imagine how intense the competition would be. Of course, they had to be fully prepared before heading to Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. Even Red Oriole didn't dare to neglect this trip. The first thing the 2 of them needed to purchase was some healing pills. Even Long Yu, who had already cultivated the Devil Dust Heart secret technique, needed to prepare some special healing pills in order to adapt to the different environments of the tombs. Pills that could resist illusions, pills that could resist Fire Divine runes, and pills that could resist Ice Divine runes. All sorts of pills cost Red Oriole nearly 10 million demon coins. Every pill was a top-notch pill that guaranteed that they would be able to better deal with any situation they encountered in the tomb. Even Long Yu had to prepare a set of such pills. Although he cultivated the Devil Dust Heart, allowing him to rapidly regenerate his body, and he cultivated the world-purifying body, giving him a strong resistance to illusions, his martial realm was still lacking. At the level of a 4-star emperor, he would probably die in any trap in the tomb. Red Oriole was very experienced in purchasing these pills. She knew their prices like the back of her hand. In the end, she bought a total of 3 sets of such pills for 20 million demon coins. 1 set was for her use, 1 set was for Long Yu, and one set was for backup. Apart from that, she also needed to buy some special equipment, such as a detection compass. Such a compass could enhance a cultivator's spiritual sense detection and perception. It was equivalent to the effect of cultivating the first level of balance control. Even if Long Yu wore such a compass, he would be able to improve his detection and perception significantly. It would definitely be quite effective in a place like the tomb. Finally, Long Yu took a look at all the creations in the transaction hall. Chapter 1128. Thunder Fire Demon Sage was the most powerful leader of the Thunder Fire Monstrous clan. However, that was 1,000 years ago. Ever since Thunder Fire Demon Sage was killed by the Soul Clan in the battlefield of the Foreign Clans, the Thunder Fire Monstrous clan had gradually declined. The cultivation planet where the Thunder Fire Monstrous clan lived was called Thunderbolt Star. It was not far from Fey Jade Star. Thunderbolt Star was originally one of the 4 major cultivation galaxies of the Iron Wall Galaxy, but it was later replaced by Fey Jade Star. After Long Yu and Red Oriole were ready, they left Fey Jade Star and used the space-time imprint teleportation array to travel to Fey Jade Star. Long Yu used the Book of Shadows to transform into an extremely ordinary young man with a sallow face. He was so short that no one could connect him to the original Long Yu. Red Oriole, of course, transformed into a lively and cute girl. Her clothes did not change. She was still wearing the blood-red dress, which made her look a little seductive. The two arrived at Thunderbolt Star and quietly waited for Thunderfire Demon Sage's tomb to open. During this period, Long Yu naturally worked hard to absorb the creation items he bought on Fey Jade Star. He hoped to step into the 5-star Emperor realm before entering Thunder Fire Demon Sage's tomb. Nearly 50 million demon coins were spent by Long Yu in Fey Jade Star's trading house. He bought a lot of mysterious jade creation items. Previously in the bloody battlefield, Long Yu received a 5th-grade mysterious jade creation item, which was worth a little more than 3 million demon coins. Now, Long Yu spent more than 40 million demon coins to buy 3 1st-grade mysterious jade creation items. The creation power contained in each item was at least 10 times that of the Heavenly Origin Dragonstone. Creation items were very precious. Long Yu spent more than 40 million demon coins in Fey Jade Star's largest trading house, and only bought 3 creation items. It would be difficult for others to buy them, even if they wanted to. There were still 3 days left before the opening of Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb. Many cultivators had already gathered on Thunderfire Planet. There were hundreds of thousands of people. As the leader of one of the 4 cultivation planets in the Iron Wall Galaxy, Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb was extremely massive. It occupied the region of several planets in the void, creating a space for his tomb. 1,000 years ago, when this tomb had just been built, it was ravaged by the galactic turbulence, turning everything into a land of destruction. The astral river blast had left the tomb 800 years ago, but the damage it caused to Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb continued to this day. 3 days later, the turbulent vortex left behind by the astral river burst in the tomb's periphery finally vanished completely. This was also the best opportunity for everyone to enter Lightning Fire's tomb. Of course, it was still very dangerous to enter Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb at this moment. This was because there were definitely many turbulent vortexes left behind by the astral river blast in the tomb ruins. It was definitely not that simple to safely obtain the most precious treasures in the tomb's depths. At the very least, if 1 million cultivators entered Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb, less than half of them would be able to survive. Less than 1/10 of the total number of cultivators would be able to obtain a good harvest. When Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb was built, many people were buried in the astral turbulence. Therefore, there were definitely precious pills, materials, and combat weapons scattered everywhere. However, if one wanted to obtain them, they definitely needed to be extremely vigilant. Otherwise, they would be devoured by the turbulent vortexes hidden in the tomb. There were still 3 days left. Long Yu and Red Oriole stayed together in an ordinary courtyard on Firestar Thunderstar. If this continued, their days would be leisurely. Unfortunately, this kind of life could only last for 3 days before they had to embark on the intense exploration of the ancient tomb ruins. Long Yu started absorbing the power of creation from the 3 items of creation, using it to nourish his 5th innate mystic fruit, the Book of Dark Shadows. The only flaw was that it expended too much energy. If he wanted to fuse and transform into his enemy's strength, Long Yu could only maintain it for a very short period of time. However, when he used the Book of Shadows to simulate his opponent's attacks, he would be in an invincible state. This was the most powerful aspect of this sacred art. Long Yu was currently disguised as a yellow-faced youth, and he was also using the sacred art of the Book of Shadows. If he cultivated the Book of Shadows into an emperor's divine power, what kind of special effects would there be? Long Yu couldn't speculate at all. Even Red Oriole wasn't very clear about the secrets of the connate divine power. For any cultivator, the reason for the creation of connate divine powers was still difficult to find out. 1 item of creation, 2 items of creation, 3 items of creation. A total of 3 items of creation that Long Yu had bought were completely absorbed by him. He then condensed the power of creation into his 5th connate divine power fruit in an attempt to make a breakthrough into an emperor's divine power. Unfortunately, 3 first-grade mysterious jade-grade creation items were still unable to help Long Yu achieve a breakthrough. In the end, he was still short of a bottleneck. Even if he had another heavenly origin dragonstone, Long Yu would be able to make a breakthrough. However, Long Yu didn't have any treasures with the power of creation on him, nor did he have any demon coins. As for borrowing from Red Oriole, there was no need for that. Moreover, Red Oriole wasn't particularly optimistic about Long Yu's rapid improvement in his martial arts realm. In her opinion, Long Yu should stop for a while, so she probably wouldn't give Long Yu more demon coins to buy items of creation. However, Long Yu could still think of other ways to improve if he couldn't improve in this aspect. The simplest was undoubtedly the secret martial arts technique. Now that his balance control secret technique had been cultivated to the 8th level, it wouldn't be easy to go further. The bottleneck was very difficult to overcome, and it required a huge amount of spiritual energy and power of creation. Now, that Long Yu lacked both, it was naturally impossible for him to make a breakthrough. But now that his world pure body had reached the 5th level, he only needed some spiritual chi of heaven and earth to smoothly advance to the 6th level. The problem for Long Yu was that he couldn't use the spiritual chi of heaven and earth of the 9 Nether Realm recklessly, even though he had the 9 Nether Realm. Once the spiritual energy in the 9 Serenities realm was used up, Shenwu World's apocalypse would most likely arrive. So Long Yu had to thicken his skin and ask Red Oriole to borrow his mini-world. I'll prepare an independent space for you. The amount of spiritual energy inside should be enough for you to advance your secret martial arts technique by 1 level, but I don't have any more than that. In my own mini-world, there's a limit to how much spiritual energy it can regenerate. The less spiritual energy there is, the less power I'll gain from it, Red Oriole reminded him. She didn't mind lending Long Yu a bit of spiritual energy to cultivate, but it definitely couldn't be too much. Otherwise, it would affect her own strength, which wasn't worth it. Within an acceptable limit, she prepared enough spiritual energy for Long Yu, just enough to allow Long Yu's physique of purity to advance from the 5th level to the 6th level. His cultivation time quickly passed. With enough spiritual energy, Long Yu's speed of cultivating a secret martial arts technique would definitely surpass anyone else's. After 3 days, not only was he only 1 step away from becoming a 5-star emperor, he'd also reached the 6th level of the physique of purity technique, increasing his overall strength by quite a bit. If the current Long Yu were to face the soul race again, he'd basically be able to use the physique of purity technique to completely suppress it, making it much easier for him to fight. The physique of purity technique seems to be specifically used to counter the soul race and other beings with relatively strong mental power. When Long Yu came out of Red Oriole's small world, he realized that he was no longer on Thunderfire Star. Instead, he had arrived in a stellar domain near Thunderfire Star. This stellar domain was a part of the Iron Wall galaxy. There were more than 100 planets in it, but none of them were cultivation planets. As they were relatively far from the divine runic origins, these planets were unable to produce heaven and earth spiritual energy or the power of creation. It was precisely because of this that they were chosen as Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. There are actually so many people. When Long Yu came out of Red Oriole's small world, he saw a dense horde of cultivators in the surrounding void. They were scattered throughout his field of vision, and he couldn't see the end of them at a glance. That's right. Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb is about to truly open. In fact, many people have wanted to barge in before this. After all, being one step ahead would allow one to obtain more good things. Unfortunately, all of these people were killed by the remnant galactic turbulence vortexes at the edge of Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. Red Oriole shook her head and said, "Some people were just impatient, but at times like this, impatience was the most fatal. If one wanted to be one step ahead of others, the most likely outcome would be death before others. Galactic turbulence was no joke. It was similar to the volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and other disasters in Divine Battleworld. In fact, it was even more terrifying than those disasters. The disasters in Divine Battleworld made it very difficult for cultivators to fall for them. But in the face of galactic turbulence, it didn't matter what kind of existence you were. As long as you were affected by the galactic turbulence, only death awaited you. It was the same even for existences at the Great Ruler Realm. Against galactic turbulence, only peak experts at the demigod realm could barely escape. Furthermore, they couldn't stay in it for too long. However, there were only a handful of existences at the demigod realm in the entire human race and the Fey race. From this, it could be seen that galactic turbulence was definitely a nightmare for all cultivators. Long Yu nodded his head and began to observe the situation before him in detail. Chapter 1129. Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb spanned an extremely vast area. Just the area Long Yu could see with his naked eye definitely exceeded the ancient ruins he had seen in the Astral River ruin. Furthermore, Long Yu couldn't detect the end of the tomb even with the Eye of Shadows. He was still a great distance away. More than 1 million people gathered beside Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. They were prepared to swarm into the tomb once the remnant vortexes of the Astral River burst dissipated. Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb could be entered from all directions. There was no fixed entrance. However, after entering, one would still encounter many vortexes left behind by the Astral River burst. If one wasn't careful, they would be devoured and killed. Therefore, this place was definitely extremely dangerous. Everyone had a premonition of the danger, so now many cultivators had organized outside the tomb, especially many groups who wanted to recruit some cultivators with stronger detection abilities to join their own groups. Red Oriole, can you detect the vortexes left behind by the Astral River burst? Suddenly, Long Yu narrowed his eyes and asked Red Oriole. No, I can't sense them. Red Oriole shook her head, indicating that she couldn't do so. If she could do so, she would be able to do as she pleased in Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. It would be very difficult for her to encounter any danger left behind by the Astral River burst vortexes. I can sense a little. Perhaps we can attempt to enter ahead of time? Long Yu circulated his balance control with all his might and sensed invisible energy vortexes scattered across Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb in front of him. They were like stars in the sky. There were countless of them, and they were distributed unevenly. With his balance control, Long Yu could sense the vortexes left behind by the Astral River burst even more clearly than Red Oriole. In fact, Red Oriole couldn't sense them at all. As for Long Yu, he could only sense traces of the vortexes. However, this tiny difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. It almost determined his survival in Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. You can really sense them? Hearing Long Yu's words, Red Oriole was shocked. She hadn't expected Long Yu's probing ability to be so strong. It had to be known that Long Yu's martial arts realm was several realms lower than hers. From the inheritance of the Juyo Dragon Emperor, I obtained a secret martial art technique called balance control. It can strengthen the spiritual sense detection ability of the cultivator. Long Yu said with a smile. After all, Red Oriole already knew many of his secrets, so it didn't matter if she revealed them. Furthermore, if he could teach Red Oriole the martial arts mystic technique in a balanced manner, the two of them would be much safer during their trip to Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. Balance control. Hong Ying's eyes lit up when she heard this. Little brother Long, you've really surprised big sister. You've even cultivated such a rare martial arts secret technique. No wonder your overall strength is so strong. No, since I know about it, I'll have to cultivate it as well. I wonder if little brother Long is willing to teach it to me? Long Yu naturally couldn't object to the girl calling herself big sister. He nodded when he heard that. Of course not. To be honest, I wanted to teach it to you anyway. That way, we'll be much safer in the Demon Sage tomb. Then you'll have to wait for me for a while. The Demon Sage tomb is about to open, but there's no rush for us to enter. I can first cultivate this martial arts mystic technique to the third realm before entering. It should be much safer. Red Oriole squinted her eyes at Long Yu and said with a smile, "Of course, this martial arts mystic technique is too precious. I won't take it from you for free. After this matter is over, I could try to get you anything you want." "You can really ask for anything?" Long Yu was somewhat surprised as he couldn't help but glance at her alluring figure. "Nothing but this." Red Oriole did not shy away. She giggled and said, "There are a lot of precious training resources in the Blood Demon clan. I've heard of your secret art named balance control before, but I've never seen it before, nor have I ever met anyone who has practiced it. To be honest, we even thought that the secret art had been lost for a long time. Such a mystic technique is worth at least 100 billion demon coins. It's hard to estimate. I don't even know how to repay you." "Well, I'm just kidding." Long Yu waved his hand and said with a smile, "Let's talk about the repayment after we come out of the tomb. Maybe we'll all die in the tomb." "It's really possible." Red Oriole giggled. "At that time, we'll die together. I'll have a little genius to accompany me before I die. I'll die a worthy death." Hearing that, Long Yu's face suddenly turned dark. He thought that talking to this girl was so tiring. However, it made him feel quite relaxed. He didn't need to avoid any topic. Then, Long Yu taught Red Oriole the cultivation method of the martial arts mystic technique of balance control from the first level to the 9th level. This martial arts mystic technique was not obtained from the 9 Serenities prison steel. Therefore, Long Yu could still teach it to others. If it were the pure world body and the devil dust heart, Long Yu would never teach them to others. After all, these two mystic techniques were too special. Their effects aside, if they were spread out, it was very likely that someone would deduce the existence of the 9 Serenities prison steel, which would be very disadvantageous to Long Yu. After receiving the martial arts mystic technique of balance control, Red Oriole handed the blood-red pendant on her neck to Long Yu with relief. Then, she entered her own small world and prepared to cultivate. Unlike the 9 Serenities world that Long Yu currently possessed, Red Oriole's small world was now quite rich in heaven and earth spiritual chi. Although consuming too much in a short period of time would cause her strength to drop a little, compared to a stronger detection ability, it was definitely more important to successfully cultivate balance control. Long Yu held the blood-red pendant in his hand and then stayed vigilantly in the crowd. Although it was said to be a crowd, as millions of people were scattered in different directions, there were not many people gathered near Long Yu. In the Demon Saint tomb, as long as they were not part of the same adventurer group, they would basically not get within 10 feet of each other to avoid causing misunderstandings. Moreover, everyone was here to explore the tomb, so there was no need to start a conflict with others before the tomb was opened. Long Yu was not in a hurry. The Demon Saint tomb was so big, and it was impossible for people to find the core area so quickly. As for the things left behind by the many cultivators who were buried in the periphery, Due to the galaxy burst, Long Yu did not have much attraction. There is no need to compete with millions of people for it. It would be too tiring. I just don't know how long it will take for Red Oriole to cultivate the third level of balance control. As long as she comes out, her perception and detection ability of the remnant galaxy burst vortex in the Demon Saint tomb should be stronger than mine. Long Yu thought to himself, but he was not anxious at all. The so-called opening of the Demon Sage tomb actually didn't have a particularly precise time. Everyone had heard that the remnant vortex of the galaxy burst in the periphery of Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb was about to dissipate. Therefore, they came here to wait. They estimated that it would dissipate in the next 2 days. Therefore, there were many people who tried to enter the tomb. Many Sovereign Realm experts were very skilled in the field of probing, and they should be able to sense the remnant whirlpool. Therefore, they flew into the tomb and disappeared from everyone's sight in no time. With a great Sovereign Realm expert taking the lead, and nothing unexpected happened, the others naturally became restless. Most people did not have any interest in the rainbow crystal powder that might exist in the deepest part of the tomb. Therefore, their target was the cultivation resources and battle weapons left behind by the cultivators who were buried with them in the periphery of the tomb. Of course, the cultivators with such a goal would not be willing to let others snatch it first. Naturally, they wanted to be the first to enter the tomb. Looking at the surrounding cultivators entering the Demon Saint tomb one after another, Long Yu was a little anxious. He was not worried that the majority of the cultivators would snatch what he wanted. He was worried about the great Sovereign Realm experts who entered first. Those experts' detection ability was likely to be similar to Long Yu's, or even stronger than Long Yu's. If they entered the tomb first, they would have the upper hand. It was very likely that they would be able to take away the rainbow crystal powder first. Of course, it was useless for Long Yu to be anxious. Even if he entered together with those great Sovereign Realm experts, he would definitely be slower than them. Therefore, instead of being anxious, it was better to make more preparations and wait for Red Oriole to reach the third stage of the balance control. They would be able to avoid danger as much as possible. Long Yu waited, and soon discovered that as people entered the tombs, there were also people coming out of the tombs. It seemed that this group of people had obtained something, so for safety's sake, they left first. They weren't greedy. Long Yu thought for a while and picked a group of 7 Emperor cultivators who had just come out of the tomb. He ran over to ask them about the situation. Please stay. Here are 1,000 demon coins. I will give them to you first. I just want to ask, what's the situation in this tomb? Long Yu directly offered bribe. 1,000 demon coins was not a small amount. If he just told them the information, the other party would definitely be willing to stay for a while. The 7 Emperor cultivators saw Long Yu take out 1,000 demon coins and stopped. They knew that Long Yu should want to explore the tomb, but they did not dare to go in. Little brother, you asked the right person. Let me tell you about the current situation inside. In fact, if it weren't for the serious situation inside, we wouldn't have come out so early. The leader took the 1,000 demon coins handed over by Long Yu and then said with a smile. From this person's narration, Long Yu quickly found out that the cultivators who first entered the Demon Saint's tomb had encountered one crisis after another. Although the remnant vortex of the Star River explosion at the edge of the Demon Saint tomb had dissipated, there were still many small remnant vortexes inside the tomb. Chapter 1130. The galaxy explosion was one of the most terrifying natural disasters in the Beyond Heavens world. Even the small whirlpools left behind by the galaxy explosion were extremely destructive. In just a short period of time, the 7 Emperor-level cultivators had already entered the Demon Saint's tomb. They had already seen several Sovereign's secret realm experts being swallowed by the whirlpools without any preparation. Their bodies were instantly torn to pieces and completely annihilated in the void. The 7 Emperor-level cultivators felt that it was too dangerous to enter the tomb one after another. Hence, they turned around and left the tomb. Originally, they were upset that they did not gain anything from this trip. Coincidentally, Long Yu came up and gave them 1,000 demon coins to ask about the situation. It could be considered as a bit of compensation for their hard work and travel expenses. It's already good enough that they survived. Even a high-level sovereign was swallowed by a small whirlpool. I think we, the Emperor-level cultivators, are too weak. Therefore, the hidden heart liquid, play, or Xianzhang, stand eager. Another plaque. The Emperor-level cultivator smiled and said to Long Yu. He was trying to persuade him not to enter the tomb. In the eyes of the seven of them, Long Yu was just a 4-star sovereign monarch with a yellow face. His strength couldn't even compare to the seven of them. If he entered the tomb, only death would await him. That was why they warned him. Long Yu nodded and said, "Thank you for your warning." In reality, for Long Yu, since he could faintly sense the existence of the astral turbulence vortex, it really wasn't as dangerous as it was for the others. Not to mention, Red Oriole had cultivated balance control. However, Long Yu was a little surprised by the seven people's warning. It seemed that there were still some kind-hearted people in the demon race's territory. Not all demon cultivators were filled with killing intent. When the seven people saw that Long Yu did not seem to take their warning to heart, they also did not pay much attention to it. In any case, for them, Long Yu was just a passerby. They had casually explained the situation of the demon saint's tomb and were able to obtain 1,000 demon coins, which could be regarded as a very good return. As for what Long Yu would do after that, it was completely none of their business. Even if Long Yu died in the demon saint's tomb, they did not need to blame themselves. At least they had warned him. Therefore, after explaining the situation inside and reminding Long Yu, the seven people turned around and left. They did not intend to get involved in this mess. Although there were many treasures in the demon saint's tomb, they had to be alive to get them. The cultivators who retreated now felt that the benefits of exploring Demon Saint Thunderfire's tomb were not proportional to the risks. It was not worth it. After the seven people left, Long Yu saw a lot of people coming out of the Demon Saint's tomb. However, compared to the endless number of cultivators who entered the Demon Saint's tomb, the number of people who left was much smaller. At most, less than 1/10 of the people ran inside. More and more cultivators ran towards Demon Saint Thunderfire's tomb. However, no one knew how many of them could obtain the treasures they wished for, and how many could successfully leave. Long Yu looked at the chaotic scene outside the Demon Saint's tomb. He was in no hurry as he waited leisurely. Finally, after 12 hours, which was half a day, the blood-red pendant in Long Yu's hand finally flashed with a beam of light. A figure in a red dress floated out. It was none other than Red Oriole, who had transformed into a lively and adorable young girl. "You succeeded?" Long Yu asked subconsciously. "Yes. This secret martial art technique of yours is really impressive. I've only cultivated it to the first level, but it has already doubled my spiritual senses. Now that I've cultivated it to the 3rd level, it has at least tripled my spiritual senses. It's unbelievable." Red Oriole was still excited when she came out of the small world. Even with her identity, it was difficult to obtain a secret martial art technique of such a level. In terms of quality, the secret martial art technique of balance control was even more advanced than the secret martial art technique of the Blood Demon clan that enhanced deduction ability. The secret martial art technique of the Blood Demon clan that enhanced deduction ability alone was already enough for the Blood Demon clan to stand proudly in the territory of the Demon clan and occupy the Blood Demon galaxy alone. They were the overlords of a region. If a demonic cultivator race could obtain a balanced mastery of this martial arts mystic art, how powerful would they become? Of course, Red Oriole would never teach the secret martial art technique of balance control to other members of the Blood Demon clan. Even if she did, she would certainly ask for Long Yu's permission first. In that regard, Red Oriole was certainly a good person. It was exactly for that reason that Long Yu trusted her and taught the secret martial art technique of balance control to her. Can you sense the remaining swirls of the galactic outburst now? Long Yu immediately asked. This was the most important question that concerned the safety of the two of them from here on out. Yes, although it is not very obvious, I can sense it as long as the remaining swirls are not too small. Also, the distance of my perception is quite far. It's a world of difference from before I practiced balance control. Red Oriole narrowed her eyes. She performed the secret martial art of balance control and probed the tomb of the demon saint up ahead. Very soon, she discovered that the remaining swirls at the edge of the tomb had basically been touched and exploded. Many people must have been killed by the remaining swirls of the explosion. As a result, the number of the remaining swirls at the periphery of the tomb decreased. However, Long Yu and Red Oriole's target was the colorful powder in the deepest part of the tomb. Therefore, the phenomenon was not a good thing for them. That's good. Let's go. We have to hurry. I've seen at least a dozen experts in the Grand Dominator realm who have entered the tomb ahead of us. Long Yu said, yes, even if the experts in the Grand Dominator realm did not practice the secret martial art technique of balance control, their senses should be able to detect the remaining swirls. Although their detection is not as clear as ours, it should not be a problem for them to ensure their own safety. Our competitors are very strong. Excitement appeared in Red Oriole's beautiful eyes. For her, the more challenging something was, the more attractive it was. Moreover, she had just cultivated the secret martial art technique of balance control, which put her in a very good mood. Little brother Long, come with me. Right, this secret martial art technique of balance control is very powerful. I don't know how I can repay you. Although I'm not in a hurry, I can still propose something for you to consider. If you want it, we can make a deal. I can teach you the secret martial art technique of our Blood Demon clan. Red Oriole flew in front and said without turning her head, of course, the secret martial art technique of our Blood Demon clan is definitely not as effective as your balance control. We can add some other things to make up for the difference. Let's talk about that later. Also, I don't want the secret martial art technique of balance control to be taught to more people. Long Yu shook his head and said, all right. Red Oriole had no choice but to nod her head. She knew that Long Yu's answer meant that he had rejected her offer. From the looks of it, Long Yu was not very interested in the secret martial art technique of the Blood Demon clan that could enhance their deduction ability. This made Red Oriole somewhat disappointed and distressed. That was because the secret martial art technique of balance control was too powerful. She had to find a way to repay Long Yu. Otherwise, she would always feel that she owed Long Yu, and she would feel very pressured. Although Red Oriole's martial art level was much higher than Long Yu's, there was no barrier between the two of them when they interacted. Instead, it was as if they were communicating as peers. The biggest reason for this was Long Yu's martial art talent and comprehensive strength. After all that had happened, Red Oriole had long since acknowledged Long Yu. She also knew that as Long Yu continued to grow, there would come a day when he would be on equal footing with her. He might even surpass her. This could be seen from Concubine Yu. Although Red Oriole was a little jealous of Consort Yu, she had to admit that the original Holy Maiden of the Nine Nether Realms martial art talent was top-notch among the humans and demons. The two of them didn't say anything else. Finally, they followed hundreds of thousands of people and headed for Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb. More than 800,000 cultivators had already entered the tomb out of the million cultivators that surrounded the Demon Sage's tomb. This caused the tomb's periphery to become a little deserted. The remaining people either didn't dare to enter or were preparing to leave after entering. They were just like the 7 emperors whom Long Yu had questioned previously. Long Yu and Red Oriole didn't have much to worry about. They directly stepped into the tomb and circled around 2 relatively small remnant vortexes. Even though they were small remnant vortexes, they could cause great trouble if they accidentally touched them. Let's classify these remnant vortexes. The smaller the remnant vortex, the weaker the explosion. The smallest is a first-level vortex, and so on until it's a 9th-level vortex. In order to facilitate communication, Red Oriole and Long Yu discussed the rules for distinguishing the size of the remnant vortexes. This was a rule that only the 2 of them could use. First-level vortexes were the smallest, and they were the most numerous in the tomb. However, even if Long Yu touched a remnant vortex of this level, his life wouldn't be in danger. This was because their explosive power was limited. At most, they could devour half of Long Yu's body and annihilated. As for Long Yu, he could still rely on the fiend Dust Heart to be reborn. As for Red Oriole, there was even less of a need to be afraid of such a first-level vortex. However, what was more troublesome was that neither Long Yu nor Red Oriole's detection of a first-level vortex wasn't very accurate. Once they were more than 1,000 feet away, they almost couldn't sense it. After all, the smaller the remnant vortex, the weaker its aura was, making it harder for them to sense it. Chapter 1131. Above the smallest first-grade vortexes were the larger second-grade and third-grade vortexes. To Long Yu, the first-grade and second-grade vortexes wouldn't pose a threat to his life. However, a third-grade vortex would leave him without a corpse once he was sucked into it. Even his demonic dust heart would be ground to pieces. He wouldn't even have a chance of rebirth. On the other hand, Red Oriole was much stronger. She could completely withstand the strangulation of the first 3 vortexes. However, the third-grade vortex would also cause severe damage to her. She would basically lose her combat strength for a short period of time. Anyone would be in trouble once they were sucked into it. Thankfully, both of them had cultivated balance control. Their perception of remnant vortexes far exceeded most others. They just needed to advance carefully to prevent themselves from slamming into a vortex if they couldn't slow down in time. That would be a tragedy. Above the third-grade vortexes were the 4th grade, 5th grade, and so on, all the way to the 9th grade vortex. The 9th grade vortex was the largest vortex. Its destructive power was extremely astonishing. Even Sovereign Realm experts with extremely powerful bodies wouldn't be able to survive if they were sucked into it. Thankfully, the larger the remnant vortex, the more obvious its aura was. It allowed Long Yu and Red Oriole to detect it from afar. Of course, if other cultivators hadn't cultivated a mystic technique like balance control that enhanced spiritual sense detection, they would find it difficult to detect even the largest 9th grade vortex. Balance control had a special property that allowed Long Yu and Red Oriole to sense the existence of remnant vortexes in the galaxy burst. It wasn't as simple as enhancing their spiritual sense perception. In Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb, the two of them definitely had a huge advantage over the other cultivators. If we get into a conflict with other cultivators, it'll be easy. We can lure them into the remnant whirlpool. Ordinary cultivators won't be able to detect the level 9 whirlpool, which is the easiest to detect. Red Oriole narrowed her eyes. She could already imagine what would happen in the near future. If they were to clash with others, there would be a good show to watch. The difference between cultivating balance control and not cultivating was very obvious to Red Oriole. Her spiritual sense perception wasn't weak, but it was definitely stronger than Long Yu's. However, she couldn't sense the existence of the remnant vortex at all. Now that she had cultivated the 3rd level of balance control, she could perceive and detect the remnant vortex, which showed that there was something special about this martial arts secret method. And it's best if there aren't any blind people who come to provoke us. Otherwise, I don't mind teaching them a lesson. Long Yu also thought of something interesting. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes and smile. Balance control was an excellent tool for exploring Demon Sage Lightning Fire's tomb. Of course, even so, the two of them were not careless at all. Instead, they slowly and cautiously advanced towards the depths of the Demon Saint's tomb. Look over there. A while later, the two of them finally encountered a group of demonic cultivators that had entered the Demon Saint tomb before them. There were a total of 12 people in that group, and all of them were existences in the Sovereign Secret Realm. At the very least, they were at the lower Sovereign Realm. There were even 2 powerful demonic cultivators in the higher Sovereign Realm. The 12 of them followed suit and advanced in the void of the Demon Saint's tomb. Although they couldn't detect the existence of the remnant vortex like Long Yu and Red Oriole, they had their own ways to ensure their own safety. Almost every one of the 12 demonic cultivators could use mirror image avatars. They had thousands of mirror image avatars surrounding them at a distance of about 10,000 feet. Surrounded by thousands of mirror image avatars, the 12 demonic cultivators slowly advanced. From time to time, mirror image avatars would come into contact with the hidden remnant vortex and be sucked into it. Then, the 12 demonic cultivators would change their positions and advance in another direction. Although it was impossible for others to cultivate such a heaven-defying martial arts secret method like balance control, they could still think of various ways to detect the remnant vortex. The simplest method was the lightning sweeping technique, which was similar to the mirror image avatars. 80% of the cultivator teams that entered the Demon Saint's tomb used this method to advance step by step. The safety could be guaranteed to a certain extent, but the speed at which they advanced was really not flattering. Long Yu and Red Oriole's speed was already slow enough, but they were still 10 times faster than such a team. On the other hand, maintaining so many mirror image avatars consumed a lot of their strength. If they encountered any conflict and wanted to fight, they would not be able to exert their full combat power, and the situation was still quite dangerous. Relatively speaking, Long Yu and Red Oriole's situation was much better than these people. They were advancing 10 times faster than them. If there was really rainbow crystal powder in the depths of the tomb, Long Yu and Red Oriole still had a good chance of getting a share of it. Soon, Long Yu and Red Oriole had entered the Demon Saint's tomb for 2 hours. The two of them had advanced more than 10 kilometers into the depths of the Demon Saint's tomb. Ordinary spiritual sense detection was completely ineffective here, such as Long Yu's Eye of Shadow. He could only rely on balance control to detect the situation within 10,000 feet around him. At this time, the two of them finally detected a special situation not far away from them. Several teams of demonic cultivators, totaling more than 100 people, were all surrounding a void not far away. In that void, there was actually a remnant mark of a small world. It's a small world mark. It seems like it was left behind by an expert who was killed by the galactic turbulence in this tomb 1,000 years ago. It's fortunate that this small world wasn't annihilated in the galactic turbulence. Now it's become the target of these people. Red Oriole was slightly emotional. A small world had existed for 1,000 years. Even if its owner had died, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and the power of creation must have long been exhausted. There might be some cultivation resources, creations, and so on preserved by its owner when he was alive. Therefore, this small world mark had become the target of contention for others. There were 4 or 5 teams in total, and they were arguing fiercely. In a while, they would probably come to blows. How about it, Brother Long? Are you interested in small worlds? Although it's very likely that this small world is already very dilapidated, there might still be some treasures left in it. Red Oriole asked Long Yu. She didn't have much interest in this small world mark. Long Yu narrowed his eyes. He recalled the remains of the small world of the sufferers he encountered in the netherworld realm. He obtained a lot of precious things from the remains of the small world of the sufferers, including the 4 priceless treasures. The rainbow stone egg was also obtained from there. From this, it was very likely that there were some good things hidden in the small world remains. Long Yu naturally didn't want to let go of this opportunity. Let's try our luck. Who knows? There might be some extremely precious natural treasures in the small world remains. They might even be more valuable than the things in the demonic sage tomb, Long Yu said. Red Oriole was also eager to give it a try. Yes, among those 100 people, there isn't a single sovereign realm expert. The strongest among them are only those 10 or so higher sovereigns. I alone can make them run around in circles. You should go straight for the small world mark. After you get it, we'll meet up ahead. Red Oriole didn't need to think much before coming up with a battle plan. Okay, Long Yu nodded. He only needed to be in charge of getting the small world mark. He didn't need to worry about the other competitors. He believed that Red Oriole would help him delay those people. Even if those people caught up, Long Yu had the ability to protect himself. It wouldn't be a problem for him to hold out for a short period of time. To the two of them, this was just a small operation. Compared to the rainbow crystal powder that might exist in the end, the small world remains could only be considered an appetizer. Thus, the two of them didn't make too many preparations. Moreover, those 100 or so people had already sensed Long Yu and Red Oriole's presence. The longer they delayed, the more prepared they would be. When that happened, it wouldn't be so easy for them to succeed. The two of them flew towards the small world mark. The 100 or so demonic beast cultivators all looked at them warily. They were originally discussing how they would split the treasures in the small world remains if there were any, but now that Long Yu and Red Oriole were flying over, their plans might be disrupted. A higher sovereign and a 4-star emperor. There's no way they would dare to snatch the treasures in front of so many of us. However, I don't want more of our treasures to be shared with outsiders, one of the higher sovereigns said in a low voice. One of the high-level sovereign realm experts said in a low voice. The reason why they were able to peacefully discuss the distribution of the loot was because their strength was balanced. However, Long Yu and Red Oriole looked far too weak. They didn't want to share the treasures with them at all. Thus, they definitely wanted to chase them away. However, before the 100 or so people could react, Red Oriole, who had transformed into a lively young lady dressed in red, immediately made her move. Divine ability, Blood Realm, Illusion Realm. Blood Realm, Illusion Realm. Emperor, Tao, Divine ability. Red Oriole raised her hand and unleashed her most powerful Emperor, Tao, Divine ability. Instantly, the entire void was enveloped in a blood-red color. Boundless killing intent spread out, enveloping the 100 or so demonic beast cultivators. Blood-red ghosts and spirits continuously appeared from the blood-red void. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they attacked the 100 or so people. The 100 or so cultivators reacted almost at the same time and immediately attacked Red Oriole. However, they didn't know that they had already been dragged into Red Oriole's illusion realm. Their attacks all bombarded the void. They didn't hit anything. Red Oriole leisurely watched the chaotic scene from afar. Chapter 1132. Taking advantage of the fact that Red Oriole's powerful Emperor's Tao Mystique had the 100 or so people near the small world mark pinned down, Long Yu turned into a light breeze and stealthily approached the grayish-white stone, which was the dilapidated small world mark. When Long Yu was close enough, he leaped into the air and put the grayish-white stone into his pouch. Then, he turned into a light breeze and flew away. Seeing that Long Yu had succeeded, Red Oriole did not immediately remove the Blood Realm, Illusion Realm. Instead, she waited until Long Yu had flown far away before turning around and leaving. After all, Red Oriole was the strongest member of the younger generation of the Blood Demon race. Her strength far exceeded that of ordinary Sovereign Realm experts. Her Blood Realm, Illusion Realm had fooled the 100 or so sovereigns. Most importantly, no one was able to escape from the Blood Realm, Illusion Realm in a short period of time. As a result, the small world mark was taken away by Long Yu. By the time Red Oriole and Long Yu met up half a kilometer away, the group of over 100 people finally reacted. They immediately discovered that the small world mark had disappeared. Crap was snatched away by those two. Quick, chase after them. The 100 or so sovereigns were naturally enraged. The small world mark was something they had discussed for a long time before they finally came up with a plan to split it. But before they could even explore the small world mark, it had been snatched away. This was the greatest insult to their intelligence and strength. The 100 or so sovereigns were enraged. Without a second thought, they chased after Long Yu and Red Oriole. In the eyes of most of them, Long Yu and Red Oriole were merely a sovereign and a 4-star emperor. As long as they caught up to them, they would definitely be able to take them down and kill them. However, there were 2 or 3 people among them who seemed to have noticed something from the Blood Realm, Illusion Realm Red Oriole had displayed. That move looked a little like the Blood Demon race's Princess Blood Demon. Could that girl in red be the Blood Demon race's princess? I don't know. I've seen the princess of the Blood Demon clan before, but she didn't look like this. Could it be that she performed an illusion? Princess Blood Demon is most proficient in illusions. That move just now was also an illusion. That girl in red is most likely Princess Blood Demon. In addition, according to the recent news I heard from the King Killer planet, the 4-star emperor beside her should be a mountain ghost from a human race. That's right. I've also heard about it. That human mountain ghost killed the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan's third prince, causing the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan to be extremely furious. Who would have thought that he would come here? This news was brought up by 2 or 3 people, and it quickly spread among the hundreds of people, causing them to look at each other in dismay. The momentum of the chase was no longer as fierce. It should be noted that if the girl in red was really the princess of the Blood Demon clan, then they might not be able to catch up to her. She was the #1 genius of the Blood Demon clan. Even though there were over 100 of them, it was easier said than done to capture the Blood Demon princess, who was proficient in illusions. Let's not chase after her. Right now, that Princess Blood Demon only wants the small world mark. If we chase after her, we might pay with our lives. Many people had the urge to retreat in their hearts. Following the orders of a few high-level Sovereign Realm experts, the group of over 100 people finally stopped their pursuit and gathered together once again. So we're just going to let the small world mark be stolen. Some people were indignant. Of course not. We can't do anything to that Princess Blood Demon. After all, we're not as strong as her. However, there are others who want her life. A high-level sovereign expert said in a deep voice. Another high-level sovereign listened, nodded, and said coldly, "That's right. I believe that the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan will be very happy to know where the Human Mountain Ghost and Princess Blood Demon are. If we release this news, not only can we take revenge on those two, but we can also obtain some benefits from the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan." That a good idea? These words immediately received the approval of most people. Why did they risk their lives to break into Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb? Wasn't it to obtain some benefits? Now that they could sell this information to the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan, it was naturally excellent for them. They didn't have to take too many risks. With this discussion, the hundreds of Sovereign Mystic Realm cultivators couldn't be bothered to chase after them. They directly returned to the outside of the tomb. Long Yu and Red Oriole were also a little puzzled. Why did the hundreds of people return after chasing after them? However, they didn't think too much about it. They most likely discovered our identities. It looks like we have to make preparations to deal with the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan's pursuit. Red Oriole smiled and said to Long Yu. Long Yu nodded. He naturally understood this logic. It was easy for him to figure it out. However, he wasn't particularly worried about it. This was because the Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb was filled with remnant whirlpools from the galaxy burst. It was almost impossible for them to catch up to him and Red Oriole. If the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan really wanted to chase after them, they could just let them. Long Yu was sure that the result would definitely be unbearable for the Golden Flood Dragon Monsters clan. This small world mark seems to be too broken. I wonder how much of it is still intact. Long Yu took out the small grayish-white stone. He could feel the declining aura and the faint world energy within it. He knew that the small world mark was definitely almost completely destroyed. There should be something inside. Even if there isn't anything, this small world mark should contain quite a bit of world energy. Red Oriole thought for a moment. She suddenly thought of something and said, "Right, little brother Long, didn't you say that your 9 nether realm is going to collapse soon? If you use the world energy in the small world mark to stabilize it, you might be able to delay its complete collapse. Is that so?" Hearing this, Long Yu was somewhat overjoyed. He didn't have any extravagant hopes that there would be any treasures in the wreckage of the small world. As long as the world energy within it could indeed help Long Yu delay the expansion of the Dead Star Whirlpool in the Netherworld realm, it would be enough. Long Yu had already told Red Oriole about the current situation of the 9 Nether Realm. After all, if there was no other choice, Long Yu still wanted to move the people of Shenwu World to Red Oriole's small world. Because Red Oriole knew about the situation of the 9 Nether Realm, the method she suggested was not bad. Of course, the two of them were still in the Demon Saint tomb and hadn't escaped from danger yet. They couldn't check what was left in the small world mark, nor could they use the world energy in the small world mark to repair the 9 Nether Realm. After putting the small grayish-white stone away, Long Yu and Red Oriole continued to advance deeper into the Demon Saint tomb. Unknowingly, 4 hours had passed since the two of them stepped into the demon sage tomb. They had advanced nearly 25 miles in total. Compared to the entire demon sage tomb, this distance was nothing at all. If they wanted to reach the center of the demon sage tomb, they would have to travel at least 5,000 to 6,000 miles. According to Long Yu and Red Oriole's current speed, it would take them at least 10 days to reach the center of the demon saint tomb. It had only been 4 hours since they entered, and the two of them had not done much. All they had done was snatch a small world mark. Furthermore, they had surpassed a dozen or so other groups of cultivators. The speed at which they advanced was much faster than the others. It was just that some people had entered half a day earlier, which was why they were ahead of them. But Long Yu and Red Oriole would surely be ahead of everyone else after a while. Moreover, the closer they got to the center of the demon saint tomb, the more things they saw in the void, such as battle weapons, broken small world marks, alchemy materials, medicinal pill bottles, jade slips with martial arts secret techniques, and so on. Long Yu and Red Oriole wouldn't interfere with ordinary things, and they didn't see any broken small world marks. As for battle weapons, medicinal pills, and alchemy materials, they weren't very attractive to Long Yu and Red Oriole. It was better to save time and reach the depths of the demon saint tomb as soon as possible. Hey, there's a broken battle weapon up ahead. It seems to be an unending grade battle weapon. Suddenly, the two of them saw a long saber floating in the void. For the time being, no one had discovered this battle weapon. It was an unending grade battle weapon, although it was a bit broken. However, an unending grade battle weapon, even a broken one, was still priceless. Whether it could be used or not, even the materials used to forge an unending grade battle weapon were very valuable. In any case, it would be a waste not to take it. Since no one else had discovered it, Long Yu stepped forward and grabbed the saber. Instantly, a cold, sinister aura flowed out of the saber and into Long Yu. Long Yu couldn't help but shiver as he examined the saber. "What do you think?" Red Oriole said. "When it was in perfect condition, it was really powerful. But now it's too broken. I'm afraid it can't even unleash half of its power. Besides, the special characteristics of an unending grade battle weapon are gone, so it can't unleash any more power." Red Oriole's ability to appraise battle weapons was much better than Long Yu's. After all, she had grown up with battle weapons of a much higher level than Long Yu's. "Can it be repaired?" Long Yu asked. "Repairing it is difficult," Red Oriole said. "Even the best weaponsmiths in the Blood Demon clan can't do it. However, we can use this material to reforge it. If we add in some other materials, we should be able to forge an unending grade battle weapon. What do you think? Do you want to reforge it? I can take it back to the Blood Demon clan and help you reforge it." Red Oriole smiled. "Let's talk about that later. Besides, we found it together, so you'll get a share. We'll split it after we get out of the Demon Saint tomb." Long Yu scratched his head. "All right." Red Oriole nodded. Suddenly, her face flickered, and she said to Long Yu, "Hold on. Let me take a look at the saber. Something doesn't seem right." "Oh." Chapter 1133. Red Oriole extended her hand to receive this sinister and cold long blade. She trembled slightly the moment it entered her hand. Clearly, she was shocked by the sinister aura of the blade. She looked at the saber carefully and waved it a few times. Suddenly, she said, "Hey, you're still hiding inside and refusing to come out? Do you really want me to drag you out?" When Long Yu heard this, he realized that Red Oriole wasn't talking to him. Could she be talking to the saber? That was strange. The saber had been drifting in the void of the tomb for 1,000 years. How could it still have a consciousness after such a long time? Even if it was a war weapon that had an unparalleled affinity with the cultivator and had developed a consciousness, the consciousness within it would vanish as soon as the cultivator died. There was no possibility that the war weapon would survive. "If you don't come out, I'll take this war weapon back and recast it," Red Oriole threatened as she swung the chilling saber in her hand. In this way, there was finally a thought transmitted from the long saber, causing Long Yu to be taken aback. He never thought that this long saber would actually have some kind of consciousness. However, he didn't know if it was the consciousness of the war weapon or some other living being. I'll come out, I'll come out. Don't take this war weapon back and recast it. A consciousness begged for mercy. Long Yu and Red Oriole both received it. It seemed to be a female consciousness, but they didn't know what it was. What are you? Why are you inside the saber? Tell us everything. Don't worry. We mean you no harm. If you have any ideas, just tell us. Red Oriole said to the saber. After a lot of persuasion, the consciousness in the saber finally recognized reality. If it didn't listen, Red Oriole would definitely take it back and recast it. If that happened, it would die. Therefore, the consciousness in the saber told Long Yu and Red Oriole everything it knew. As it turned out, the saber was called the Lightning Fire Saber. It was an endless grade weapon of the Lightning Fire monstrous tribe 1,000 years ago, and it was owned by a young girl. The girl had a high status in the Lightning Fire monstrous tribe. She was even related to the Lightning Fire Demon Saint. Therefore, she had brought the Lightning Fire Saber to the Demon Saint's tomb to attend the funeral. Unfortunately, the sudden galaxy burst had killed everyone who attended the funeral. The girl with the Thunder Fire Saber was no exception. However, she had cultivated a special martial arts secret technique that allowed her soul to exist separately from her physical body. Thus, at the moment of her death, she had separated her soul from her body and submerged it into the Thunder Fire Saber. Because the unbounded warrior was made from the most powerful materials in the natural world, even the Starry River blast couldn't completely destroy the Lightning Fire Saber. It only damaged it, and it was no longer as powerful as before. The girl and the Thunder Fire Saber had not reached the unparalleled level, so the saber had not developed a spiritual consciousness. Therefore, the girl was not rejected by the Thunder Fire Saber. For the past 1,000 years, the girl's soul had drifted around the Demon Saint's tomb, avoiding countless remnant vortexes along the way. At the same time, she wanted to leave the area. Unfortunately, before today, the entire tomb had been surrounded by the remnant vortexes of the galaxy burst. She had not had a chance to leave. Now that the outermost remnant vortexes had dissipated, she had a chance to leave. However, she had been in despair for so many years. Today, her soul consciousness was still sleeping in the Thunder Fire Saber. She did not realize that she had a chance to leave. It was only when Long Yu obtained it that she finally woke up. You're saying that you're the remnant soul of the girl from the Lightning Fire monstrous tribe 1,000 years ago? Red Oriole was surprised to hear that. Logically speaking, it was impossible for a single soul to exist for 1,000 years, let alone a soul that had been separated from a physical body. However, this girl's remnant soul had survived until now. If it weren't for Long Yu and Red Oriole's interference, she would have continued to exist. As for how long she could exist, no one knew. Long Yu and Red Oriole did not know what kind of special martial arts secret technique this girl had cultivated before she died. Yes, my name is Ji Tao, the girl's remnant soul said timidly. The young girl's remnant soul said timidly. She seemed to be somewhat afraid of Red Oriole. She was afraid that Red Oriole would take the Thunderfire saber and reforge it. If that happened, she would be refined alive. What cultivation level were you at when you were alive? Red Oriole asked with a chuckle. She was quite fond of this girl's remnant soul. She seemed a little silly. After all, today was supposed to be the day the Demon Saint's tomb would open, but this girl was sleeping in the saber, Greater Sovereign. Ji Tao's remnant soul replied. These words made Long Yu feel a little ashamed. Even a random remnant soul had cultivated to the Greater Sovereign realm when she was alive, while he was only a 4-star emperor. This was too sad. However, when he remembered that the Lightning Fire monstrous tribe was a powerful existence equivalent to the King Killer monstrous tribe and the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous tribe 1,000 years ago, it was not impossible for them to nurture a young Greater Sovereign. Not bad. Since that's the case, you can guide us here. You must be very familiar with this place after drifting in this tomb for 1,000 years. Tell us where the rainbow crystal powder is. Red Oriole was very direct and asked the girl without hiding anything. The rainbow crystal powder is obviously in the deepest part of the tomb. However, apart from the remnant whirlpool of the Star River explosion, there's also the thunder fire mechanism that grandfather personally designed. It will be extremely difficult to get there. Jitao seemed to be in a difficult position. I've heard of the thunder fire mechanism. However, as a descendant of the lightning fire monstrous tribe, you should know how to dispel that mechanism, right? Red Oriole asked again. I can, but I don't have a fleshly body right now, so I can't do it. Unless you can learn this secret technique of our lightning fire monstrous tribe. As Ji Tao explained this to the two of them, she also conveyed the cultivation method of a secret technique to them. The two sensed it and were shocked. This secret technique was a secret martial technique of the lightning fire monstrous tribe that could control lightning and fire. Secret martial path technique, thunder fire secret technique. Cultivating this secret martial path technique can increase one's compatibility with the thunder and fire attribute divine runes, allowing one to unleash greater power on the basis of the compatibility of the divine runes. At the same time, it can also be used to break the thunder fire mechanism. Only by cultivating this thunder fire secret technique to the third layer can one truly reach the center of the tomb and find the rainbow crystal powder. Ji Tao said. Previously, she had been drifting in the tomb without a physical body, so it was naturally impossible for her to do so. However, she knew how to obtain the rainbow crystal powder. To Long Yu and Red Oriole, this could be said to be a bargain. Compared to the rainbow crystal powder, even one tail of rainbow crystal powder was insignificant to the lightning fire saber, not to mention the fact that the endless level combat weapon was damaged. If that's the case, we're much more confident. However, there's no way we can cultivate this martial technique at the same time. So, little brother Long, why don't you focus on cultivating in my mini world? I'll take you to the rainbow crystal powder. What do you think? Red Oriole suggested to Long Yu with a smile. Sure, Long Yu nodded. At the same time, he felt that this lightning fire monstrous tribe girl named Ji Tao was really naive. She was actually willing to give them the cultivation method of the lightning fire secret technique. Of course, the young girl was still careful and only taught them the cultivation method for the first 3 stages of the secret technique. If Long Yu and Red Oriole wanted the cultivation method after the 3rd stage, they would definitely not be willing to destroy her. For the sake of her own life, Ji Tao didn't dare to disobey. However, she still had to keep a trump card to ensure her survival. By the way, how much rainbow crystal powder is there in the tomb? Red Oriole thought of something and asked the girl Ji Tao. There's a total of 7 tails. It's customary for us, the lightning fire monstrous tribe, to offer 7 tails of rainbow crystal powder to great people. My grandfather led the lightning fire monstrous tribe to rise, so he's naturally considered a great person. When Ji Tao mentioned her grandfather, she was still a little reverent. Her grandfather was naturally the lightning fire demon sage. However, his tomb had been invaded by countless people. They were all foreign cultivators who wanted to get their hands on the treasures. Ji Tao told Long Yu and Red Oriole about the rainbow crystal powder so easily because she wanted them to take the rainbow crystal powder away as soon as possible. Once the news spread, there wouldn't be so many people coming to the tomb to disturb her grandfather's eternal rest. The sudden galactic turbulence completely destroyed Demon Sage Thunderfire's funeral. It also caused the Thunderfire Monstrous clan to be unable to recover from the setback. Apart from Demon Sage Thunderfire's death, most of the Thunderfire Monstrous clan's top experts had died in the galactic turbulence. Can I ask you some questions? Ji Tao asked Red Oriole and Long Yu shyly after giving them some instructions. Ask whatever you want to know. We'll definitely answer you as long as we can, Red Oriole said. She still felt a little sorry for the girl, so she said so. What's the situation with the lightning fire monstrous tribe now? Ji Tao asked in a sad tone. The Thunderfire Monstrous clan still exists, but it is no longer as glorious as it was 1,000 years ago. The Thunderfire Monstrous clan's position in the Iron Wall Galaxy has been replaced by another planet, the demon jade planet. Now, there are only 6 great rulers left in the Thunderfire Monsters clan. These were not secrets, so it didn't matter if Jitao knew. Jitao felt even sadder when she heard this. She fell silent and didn't say anything else. Chapter 1134. Immediately after, Long Yu entered Red Oriole's miniature world and began to use the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in Red Oriole's miniature world to cultivate the secret martial arts technique of the Lightning Fire Demon Tribe, the Lightning Fire Secret Technique. Recently, a lot of the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in Red Oriole's miniature world had been consumed. However, in order to obtain the rainbow crystal powder as soon as possible, she was willing to pay the price. Although it would weaken her strength slightly, it was nothing compared to the rainbow crystal powder. Moreover, the loss of the spiritual chi of heaven and earth would not greatly affect her strength. It would only weaken her by 10%. This was not the first time that Long Yu had entered Red Oriole's miniature world. However, every time he entered, he discovered that Red Oriole would place him in a blood-red space. Apart from the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, there was nothing else in this space. This Red Oriole has hidden herself quite well. She didn't even let me see what the rest of the miniature world looks like. Long Yu felt rather helpless. However, he didn't think about it for long. Instead, he immediately began to cultivate the Lightning Flame Secret Technique. After cultivating the Lightning Flame Secret Technique, he would be able to increase his compatibility with lightning and fire attribute divine runes. This compatibility referred to additional compatibility, and the effects were especially significant. For example, Long Yu had already reached the 11th level of compatibility with the shadow attribute divine rune. If he were to take a Devil Heaven Speed pill refined from the Rainbow Stone Egg, he would be able to reach the 12th level of compatibility. This was basically the peak. However, if Long Yu could cultivate a martial arts technique similar to the Lightning Fire Secret Technique to increase his control over the Darkness Attribute, then when he used the Darkness Attribute divine characters, he would have the power and effect of level 13 or even level 14 compatibility. Generally speaking, a cultivator's compatibility with the divine characters could only reach level 12 at most. However, after cultivating some special martial arts techniques, the effects could exceed this level. Of course, Long Yu is currently cultivating the Lightning Fire Secret Technique not to increase the power of his lightning and fire attribute divine characters, but to decipher the mechanisms of the Lightning Fire Secret Technique and enter the deepest part of the Demon Sage of Lightning Fire's tomb to obtain the Rainbow Crystal Powder. In about 10 days, Red Oriole will definitely be able to reach the deepest part of Yao Sage's tomb. I only have 10 days left to cultivate. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any problems. Long Yu sensed the difficulty of cultivating the Thunder Fire Secret Technique and found that it was even more difficult than the Balance Control, let alone the body of Pure World and the Devil Dust Heart. Since that's the case, I'll only need a day at most to cultivate it to the 3rd level. With that thought in mind, Long Yu quickly entered a state of cultivation, constantly absorbing the heaven and earth spiritual chi in Oriole's small world to cultivate the Thunder Fire Secret Technique. Outside, Red Oriole held the Thunder Fire Een Blade in her hand. To her surprise, she discovered that the lingering soul peach within the Thunder Fire Een Blade was much more sensitive to the remnant vortexes of the Star River explosion than her and Long Yu. After all, Jitao had lived in this environment for 1,000 years. She had always been avoiding the remnant vortexes, so she was naturally very sensitive to them. This also increased Red Oriole's speed, and it wasn't just a small increase, but a full doubling of her speed. Originally, it would have taken her 10 days to reach the deepest part of the Demon Sage's tomb. Now it would only take her 5 days at most, greatly reducing the time needed to travel. Moreover, as Red Oriole increased her speed, she could see many battle weapons, pill bottles, alchemy materials, creations, and other cultivation resources along the way. However, there weren't many of them. After all, She had been here for 1,000 years. Apart from things like the Thunderfire Blade that had a lingering soul consciousness, which could avoid the remnant vortexes of the Star River explosion, nothing else could avoid them. They would more or less touch some of the remnant vortexes. Once touched, unless it was a super existence like a divine grade absolute beginning or an unending battle weapon, it would definitely be torn to pieces in the vortexes. Therefore, the things left behind in the Demon Sage's tomb were either extremely lucky to avoid the remnant vortexes or powerful battle weapons like the Thunderfire Blade. The treasures that Red Oriole saw along the way were all collected by her. Although she didn't think much of them, no matter how small a mosquito's leg was, it was still meat. She still wouldn't let them go to waste. For example, the Thunderfire Blade could be said to be a very big surprise. As Red Oriole increased her speed, she quickly overtook many other cultivators. They were shocked to see Red Oriole's speed, but many of them thought she was just lucky to get here. At this speed, unless she can accurately detect the existence of the remnant vortexes, she'll die for sure. Are you kidding me? Even Sovereign Realm experts weren't able to accurately detect the existence of the whirlpool. How could a little girl do it? Impossible. No one was optimistic about Red Oriole's chances. They were certain that she would soon run into the remnant vortexes and die. But how could they know that Red Oriole could accurately detect the existence of the remnant vortexes? Red Oriole quickly vanished from the sight of the cultivators along the way. She was at least 10 times faster than they were, and it didn't take long for her to see fewer and fewer cultivators. At the same time, more and more treasures appeared in front of her. Another remnant of a minor world seal. Not bad at all. I should go back and see if there are any other treasures inside. An unending battle weapon. It's too bad it's not as well preserved as the Thunderfire Blade. I can't use it when I get back, but I can use it to recast it. With a few more materials, I can craft another unending battle weapon. Thunderclap wood. It's actually the Thunderclap wood, an Earth Seal grade creation. Such a precious thing actually exists here. Looks like I won't make a loss on this trip. It's worth it. Along the way, Red Oriole continued to scavenge for treasures. She didn't hide them, but instead placed them in an independent space within the minor world. She planned to split them evenly with Long Yu once they got out. If Long Yu hadn't taught her the secret martial art of balance control, Red Oriole wouldn't have been able to make it so smoothly. She was very grateful, and considering how valuable the secret martial art of balance control was, even if she ended up giving all of it to Long Yu, she wouldn't feel any regret. If he absorbs the Thunderclap wood's creation power, Little Brother Dragon might be able to reach the level of a 5-star emperor. But it's not a good thing for him to advance too quickly. I should advise him to consolidate his cultivation first. With that thought in mind, Red Oriole continued onward. The closer she got to Demon Sage Thunderfire's tomb, the more treasure she found and the higher the quality. It was clear how many experts of the Demon Sage Thunderfire had participated in the funeral. After flying for a day, Red Oriole had already collected 4 or 5 broken unbounded fighters. Although they were all broken and useless, and could only be taken back to be recast, their value was still immeasurable. This disaster is a catastrophe for any race. Even our Blood Demon tribe, with so many sovereigns dead, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to continue to dominate the universe. Red Oriole felt like a fox mourning the death of a rabbit. At the same time, she was in awe of the Galaxy Blast. She had only heard about it before, but now that she had seen the aftermath with her own eyes, she knew that the Galaxy Blast was indeed one of the most terrifying disasters in the world. And after a day, Long Yu finally cultivated the Thunderfire secret technique to the 3rd level in her small world and successfully came out of seclusion. Done? Red Oriole's eyes lit up when Long Yu came out of the minor world. Yes, Long Yu nodded. That's fast. The girl knew that she had built up a good relationship with Red Oriole in the past day and was no longer as afraid of her. Therefore, she was more at ease with Long Yu. You've had a good day, haven't you? Did you run into anyone else? Did you have any conflicts? Long Yu asked Red Oriole with a smile. The harvest is not bad, and there aren't any conflicts. I've left the others far behind. If I meet anyone in front of me, they will definitely be cultivators with strong detection abilities. It's very likely that they will be Sovereign Realm experts. Red Oriole nodded and said with a serious expression, yes. If we really run into Sovereigns, I'll have to rely on you to hold them off. If I run into Sovereigns, they can probably kill me with a single finger. Long Yu chuckled. Just as the two of them were moving toward the deepest part of the Demon Saint tomb, a group of demon cultivators in golden armor finally flew over from the edge of the Demon Saint tomb. The group of demonic beasts were experts from the Golden WIRM clan. Their leader was a golden-haired old man. The old man's face was filled with pain and hatred. His strength was comparable to Master Bai Yun's. That golden-haired old man was the head elder of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous race. He was also the grandfather of the third Golden Flood Dragon Prince. Behind him was the head butler of the Golden Flood Dragon monstrous race, the uncle of the third prince. The steward didn't do his job well last time, but he couldn't do anything about it because of Shui Luo's appearance. The Golden WIRM clan could only remember the third prince's death. They didn't expect to get their revenge so soon. They're in the Sacred Beast tomb. Since that's the case, spread the news that Princess Blood Demon and the Human Mountain Ghost have obtained the Rainbow Crystal Powder. Spread the news as far as possible. The golden-haired old man, the great elder of the Golden WIRM clan, said coldly, "That's a good idea. This way, even if we fail to eliminate the two of them, there will be others chasing after them." The great elder of the Golden WIRM clan praised. "What are you talking about?" An expert from the Golden WIRM clan immediately pinched the great elder and said in a deep voice, "We have so many people, including the great elder. How can we fail?" Chapter 1135. Yes. We will definitely capture the Blood Demon Princess and the human race's mountain ghost. Spreading the news about the 7-colored crystal powder will only add to their troubles. The Golden Flood Dragon clan's chief steward reacted immediately. When he saw that the Golden Flood Dragon clan's grand elder's expression didn't turn ugly, he heaved a sigh of relief and cursed himself for talking too much. "All right, let's go. This time, the Golden Flood Dragon clan has brought the star flag. We will be able to move unhindered in the Demon Saint's tomb. Let's find those two fellows as soon as possible. Whoever finds them first will be given the highest honor in the clan." The great elder of the Golden Flood Dragon Demon clan took out a flagpole from his miniature world. There was a piece of golden cloth on the flagpole. The golden cloth was constantly emitting the power of stars. It seemed like it would be of great use in the Demon Saint's tomb. There were more than 1,000 people behind the Golden Flood Dragon clan's Grand Elder. All of them were experts of the Sovereign Secret Realm. When they saw the star flag, their eyes lit up. This Starstream flag, is the most effective weapon for detecting the Star River turbulence. We, the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous clan, only have one. Presumably, in this Demon Saint tomb, we will be able to move faster than anyone else. That's right. We didn't send so many people just to capture those two fellows. We might be able to find some benefits in the Demon Saint's tomb. It would be best if we could get some 7-colored crystal powder. That would be a huge profit. The hearts of everyone from the Golden Flood Dragon clan surged. With the star flag, they would definitely be able to reap a huge harvest in the Demon Saint's tomb. A group of people advanced towards the Demon Saint's tomb. With the star flag, they were able to avoid the remnant whirlpools of Grade 2 and above. It was a pity that they couldn't detect Grade 1 and Grade 2 whirlpools. After all, their auras were too weak. However, to experts of the Sovereign Secret Realm, the destructive power of Grade 1 and Grade 2 whirlpools wouldn't be able to kill them. At most, it would cause them some trouble. Therefore, it wasn't a big problem. Even the Starstream flag was far inferior to the balance control mystic technique. Of course, the Starstream flag had other special effects that the balance control mystic technique did not have. For example, after entering the Demon Saint's tomb, the Starstream flag split off a lot of golden streamers of light and wrapped around the waists of every Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan's cultivators. After that, these Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan's cultivators separated from the main group and headed towards the distance. With these golden streams of light, they could also detect the remaining vortexes around them. However, this way, they could not even detect the level 3 vortexes, so there was still danger. Because of this, only those experts who could withstand the strangulation of the level 3 whirlpool left the main group to search in other directions. The remaining 300 people followed the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan's first elder. Under the guidance of the Starstream flag, they continued to advance towards the depths of the Demon's Saint Tomb. As for the other 800 experts that were at least at the Middle Ruler Realm, they were scattered throughout the Demon's Saint Tomb in search of Long Yu and Red Oriole. Unknowingly, the experts of the Golden Flood Dragon demonic race had spread throughout the Demon's Saint Tomb, covering the entire tomb space. At this time, Long Yu and Red Oriole were naturally unaware of this situation. They only guessed that the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan would catch up to them, but they did not expect it to be so fast. Moreover, they did not know that the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan had a treasure like the Starstream flag. Therefore, they did not think that the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan would be able to catch up to them so quickly. In fact, not only did Long Yu and Red Oriole have a secret martial arts technique of balance control to rely on, but they also had the remnant soul of the Thunder Fire Monstrous Clan's girl, Jitao, to guide them. This made them feel like fish in water. Their speed in the Demon Saint's tomb almost doubled. Next, they would probably reach the place where Jitao said the rainbow crystal powder was hidden in another 3 days. During this time, they kept detouring around some areas where the remnant vortexes were more concentrated. Although this would take a longer route, the overall time spent would be greatly reduced. Moreover, they could also avoid some possible dangers. One must know that some of the remnant vortexes in the Demon Saint's tomb were constantly moving. If they entered an area where the remnant vortexes were very concentrated, once they gathered together, the cultivators would have nowhere to escape. The only thing that awaited them would be death. Therefore, in order to avoid danger as much as possible, Long Yu and Red Oriole chose to take a detour. However, the overall time spent would not increase. On the contrary, it would shorten the time taken compared to moving in a straight line. There's a Sovereign Realm expert in front of us. Let's be careful. It's best if we take a detour. After detouring around an area where the remnant vortexes were concentrated, Red Oriole suddenly frowned and said to Long Yu. Following behind Red Oriole, Long Yu heard her words and said, "We just detoured around this area. If we take another detour, I'm afraid we'll waste too much time, right? If it's just a sovereign, Big Sister Red Oriole, I believe you can handle it." A mere Sovereign Realm cultivator was probably nothing in front of Red Oriole. Long Yu had seen with his own eyes how Red Oriole had played around with the 4 sovereigns, including the Golden Flood Dragon Monstrous Clan's chief steward. "Don't call me Big Sister. Call me Young Lady." Red Oriole glared at Long Yu before nodding her head. She said with satisfaction, "I like the way you worship me. And let's go. If he wants a fight, I don't mind playing with him. He walked in front of us, so he should have obtained quite a few good things. If he really wants to fight to the death, don't blame me for being impolite." After saying that, Red Oriole flew straight ahead with Long Yu. Long Yu wasn't too worried. From the looks of it, Red Oriole was very confident in herself. An ordinary Sovereign Realm expert definitely wouldn't be able to do anything to her. Even if she couldn't beat him, she could still run. Very soon, Long Yu followed behind Red Oriole. He detected a Sovereign Realm expert from afar. In the pitch-black void of the tomb, an old man wearing a gray robe was leisurely walking forward. At that moment, the old man naturally sensed Long Yu and Red Oriole chasing after him. He turned his head around in surprise. When he saw that it was a young man and a young woman, he couldn't help but be even more surprised. 4-star Emperor, a Sovereign Realm expert. Interesting. You actually managed to catch up to me." The gray-robed old man's eyes immediately lit up. When he saw Red Oriole, a wretched look seemed to flash through his eyes. At that moment, Red Oriole had transformed into a young girl in red. She looked lively and adorable. With her transformation techniques, the old man probably wouldn't be able to tell that she was a demonic beast cultivator. He definitely wouldn't be able to tell that she was the blood demon race's princess, Red Oriole. This old man's expression doesn't seem right. He looks a little wretched. When Long Yu saw the look in the old man's eyes, he immediately felt a little uneasy. I saw it too. This old man doesn't look like a good person. I originally just wanted to pass by, but since that's the case, I have no choice but to extort some money from him. Red Oriole said hatefully. She hated people who looked at her with strange gazes the most. Not only was this old man looking at her, but he was also looking at her with a wretched look. It made her feel extremely disgusted. Even if the other party was a sovereign realm expert, she didn't plan on letting him go so easily. She had to teach him a lesson. Before the two parties even got close, Red Oriole had already started to use her illusion techniques. Blood-colored aura began to spread from her body and spread to the surrounding void. It silently filled the entire void. The gray-robed old man immediately narrowed his eyes as if he had noticed something. He raised his hand, and a gray mist emerged from his hand. It immediately formed a gray barrier that enveloped his entire body. Little girl, attacking a senior without saying a word isn't a good habit. This old man has to teach you a lesson so that you won't dare to be so rude in the future. The gray-robed old man chuckled. The gray mist gradually extended from the barrier and actually confronted Red Oriole's blood-colored aura. Moreover, it was devouring the blood-colored aura at a speed visible to the naked eye. Red Oriole's expression changed slightly. Her blood-colored illusory divine runes were actually being devoured by the gray mist. It was clear that the old man's power was slightly suppressing hers. This old man's cultivation realm isn't that high. He's just an ordinary sovereign. However, his power is able to suppress my illusory divine runes. This won't be easy to deal with. Red Oriole's face darkened. It wasn't too late to run now. However, she wasn't willing to run away from such a wretched old man, no matter what. How about it, little girl? Do you regret attacking this old man now? The old man narrowed his eyes as he slowly approached Red Oriole. A wretched look gradually appeared in his eyes as he sized up Red Oriole's body. He clicked his tongue and said, "Little girl, your figure isn't bad. This old man likes you. Since you've offended this old man, why don't you become my concubine? I guarantee that you'll live a life of endless happiness and become a sovereign as soon as possible. How about it?" These words immediately confirmed the old man's wretched attitude, causing Red Oriole to become even more furious. As for Long Yu, who was standing next to Red Oriole, the old man didn't care at all. Even if a mere 4-star emperor were to self-detonate in front of him, the old man wouldn't even bat an eyelid. The old man posed no threat to him at all. Long Yu narrowed his eyes as he stood behind Red Oriole, pondering how to deal with the old man. He didn't think that they couldn't deal with the old man, just because his power could suppress Red Oriole. It had to be known that there were two of them. Red Oriole is proficient in illusory techniques, and I also have the 12-star prison, a grade 2 divine array. If we combine them, can we trick this old man into one of our minor worlds? Even if we can't, if we use the 9 hell steel, can we suppress this old man and let Red Oriole think of a way to kill him? Chapter 1136. However, even though Long Yu had thought of many methods, he didn't mention any of them to Red Oriole. This was because Grandmaster Bai Yun's previous example had taught Long Yu that whispering in secret in front of an expert was useless. Instead, the other party would know what he was thinking. In this kind of situation, if Long Yu wanted to cooperate with Red Oriole, it would depend on the level of tacit understanding between the two. "Big sister, why don't we run away? We really can't beat this sovereign realm expert. Look, you've been suppressed from the very beginning. If you can't hold on, the consequences will be unimaginable. I don't think Big Sister wants to become this old man's concubine, right? Long Yu transmitted his voice to Red Oriole. Of course, these words were fake. They were meant to confuse the old man. If Red Oriole was smart enough, she would definitely think of a way to cooperate with Long Yu. As expected, Red Oriole didn't disappoint Long Yu. In the next moment, Red Oriole also pretended to be strained. She turned her head with great difficulty and transmitted her voice to Long Yu. Idiot, of course, I don't want to become this old man's concubine. However, it seems like it's impossible to escape now. This old man is much stronger than me. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have provoked him. Long Yu, who was familiar with Red Oriole, naturally knew that these words were meant to confuse the public. Why had the first princess of the Blood Demon clan ever revealed such a frightened expression? Her words were clearly meant to cooperate with Long Yu's words to make the wretched old man lower his guard. It was obvious that the wretched old man had heard the contents of their secret transmission. Moreover, the wretched expression on the old man's face became even more wretched, as if he was envisioning a scene that would excite him. It's not too late to surrender now. It seems like the two of you have a pretty good relationship. If you surrender now, this old man can accept this little brother as a disciple. Otherwise, this old man will have to kill him. The wretched old man laughed mischievously as he looked at Red Oriole. Surrender? Senior, I hope you can let us go. We were wrong. We shouldn't have provoked you. Red Oriole's eyes were misty. Her acting was so realistic. If it weren't for the fact that Long Yu had some understanding of her, he really would have been fooled. You can't run even if you want to. Surrender and follow this old man into this old man's minor world. You'll be able to eat and drink well. Sooner or later, you'll step into the sovereign realm. The wretched old man continued to attack with gray mist, gradually enveloping Long Yu and Red Oriole. Then, all right, we surrender. As Red Oriole spoke, she blushed slightly. This appearance caused the wretched old man's lust to be aroused. However, it was also at this moment that Red Oriole and Long Yu attacked at practically the same time. They executed the techniques they'd prepared for a long time and attacked the wretched old man. There was no need to say much about Long Yu's techniques. He was only a 4-star emperor. How could he have the strength to fight against a sovereign realm expert? There was only one technique he could use, the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet. In an instant, the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet smashed out and a terrifying aura descended. The wretched old man was caught off guard, and he was stunned on the spot. Long Yu had tried using the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet several times before. The first time was when he used it to stun an expert from the Bone Clan. The second time was when he used it to deal with a large group of people from the Blackscale Devil Clan. When he used the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet for the second time, the leader of the Blackscale Devil Clan, the Absolute Imperial Demon, directly used a long-range attack on the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet, causing the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet to explode and kill a large group of people from the Blackscale Devil Clan. However, the second time, because the distance between Long Yu and the Absolute Imperial Demon was relatively far, the Absolute Imperial Demon had time to react and attack the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet. Now, there was not much distance between Long Yu and the wretched old man. As soon as the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet appeared, a dense aura of the 9 Underworlds spread out, enveloping the old man and completely stunning him. Even if it was only for a breath's time, it was enough. Red Oriole would not miss this opportunity. She also knew that this was the first and only chance for her and Long Yu. Otherwise, her divine rune power was restrained by the other party, and her martial Dao realm was not as high as the other parties. In the end, she would most likely lose. Although she did not know what method Long Yu had to deal with the wretched old man in the sovereign realm, she chose to believe in Long Yu. The two of them cooperated very well. At the same time, the wretched old man was stunned by the 9 Underworld Prison Tablet's dense aura. Then, Red Oriole used her technique. It was an unbounded martial technique, the strongest inherited martial technique of the Blood Demon clan. The endless power of the blood-colored divine runes turned into a monstrous wave, directly rolling towards the wretched old man, as if he was bathed in a sea of blood. Then, Red Oriole raised her hand, and the endless waves of blood-colored divine runes were all absorbed into the blood-red pendant on her neck, entering her small world. Taking advantage of the wretched old man being stunned by the 9 underworld prison tablet, Red Oriole actually captured the wretched old man into her small world. In this way, the outcome of the battle was decided. In Red Oriole's small world, wouldn't he still have to listen to her? Done. Pretty good teamwork. After Red Oriole was done, she clapped her hands and hugged Long Yu excitedly. I didn't expect you to be so treacherous. Ahem, you say I'm treacherous, but aren't you very treacherous yourself? Otherwise, how could you understand what I was thinking and act at almost the same time as me? Long Yu coughed and said, no, this is called quick-witted. That's not right. We should be called quick-witted. That old man is the one who's treacherous. Let's not talk anymore. I have to go torture that wretched old man and ask him what his origins are. Red Oriole kissed Long Yu's cheek, then jumped into the small world of the blood-red pendant with a smile. Long Yu held the blood-red pendant in one hand and touched the part of his face that Red Oriole had kissed with the other. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. This feeling, it's not bad. In Red Oriole's small world, Red Oriole saw the wretched old man who had already recovered his consciousness. The wretched old man obviously knew that he had been captured and brought into Red Oriole's small world. He couldn't help but have a look of dismay and despair on his face. He obviously knew what would happen to him if he entered someone else's small world. Simply put, his life was completely in Red Oriole's hands. If Red Oriole was unhappy, she could use the world energy of this small world at any time to completely annihilate him. In Red Oriole's small world, the wretched old man's world energy was greatly suppressed. His strength had been weakened by at least 90%. If this was a lesser ruler's small world, the wretched old man might still be able to put up a fight, but his opponent was a higher ruler, Red Oriole, who could just barely contend with him. Under such circumstances, Red Oriole was completely capable of crushing this wretched old man in her little world. Tell me the truth. What's your name? Where are you from? When Red Oriole arrived and faced the wretched old man, her entire being became filled with a murderous aura. An incomparably callous expression hung on her face. She didn't want to give such a wretched old man any face at all. At this moment, Red Oriole was like a god of death that had walked out from a pool of blood. The wretched old man scowled miserably. My little grandaunt, please let me go. I still have a 3-year-old grandson at home, waiting for me to get some demon coins from here to raise him. Cut the crap and answer my question. Red Oriole glared at him, and the wretched old man instantly shivered. He was truly afraid that this girl would kill him in a fit of rage. AI, when you're under someone else's roof, you really have no choice but to lower your head. The wretched old man sighed, then said, my name is Wei Yuyin, a member of the human race's White Cloud clan. Unfortunately, I was ostracized by many people in power in the White Cloud clan, so I had no choice but to leave home and come here. I heard that there was a Yao Saint tomb here, so I couldn't help but come and investigate. You're actually a member of the White Cloud clan? Wei Yuyin? I've never heard of you. Red Oriole narrowed her eyes. She thought of Master White Cloud, who had wanted to take Long Yu as his personal disciple in the serious arena. She had to admit that Master White Cloud had the demeanor of a master. Although he had wanted to take the opportunity to take Long Yu as his disciple, he had not forced him. Moreover, he had not had any conflict with Long Yu after that, and had left directly. If it had been a more arrogant expert, they probably would not have let the matter go so easily. Therefore, Red Oriole's original impression of the White Cloud clan was not bad. Unfortunately, it had been completely ruined by this old man, called Wei Yuyin. It was no wonder that such a wretched old man would be ostracized by the other experts of the White Cloud clan. What did you obtain in this Yao Saint tomb? Hand it all over. Red Oriole began her robbery. She had already captured the other party and brought him into the pocket world, so it was already good enough that she did not directly kill him. What was the big deal about robbing him? Wei Yuyan also knew that the current situation was like a fish on a chopping block. He could only lower his head, so he took out many of the things he had obtained in the Yao Saint tomb and obediently handed them over to Red Oriole. He could not leave Red Oriole's pocket world, so it was useless to resist her. If Red Oriole wanted to, she would have killed him long ago. His things would belong to her sooner or later. You did well. You can stay here for now. I don't want to kill you for now, but if you do anything bad, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Red Oriole threatened him, then left the pocket world with the things she had obtained. She appeared in the outside world of the Yao Saint tomb and appeared in front of Long Yu. Lock that old man up for now. Let's see what he obtained in the Yao Saint tomb. They seem to be pretty good. Chapter 1137. When Red Oriole came out of the pocket world, she took out the items and glanced at them. They were about the same as what she and Long Yu had obtained before. They were all pretty good treasures, but they were all broken. For example, the broken endless level fighters and the fragments of the pocket world were the most valuable. The other small things weren't worth much, so they were almost negligible to Long Yu and Red Oriole. Now wasn't the time to count the spoils of war, so the two of them continued on their way. Due to the existence of the remnant soul of the young girl Ji Tao in the Thunderfire Blade, the two of them had a very smooth journey. After imprisoning the wretched old man Wei Yuyan in Red Oriole's small world, the two of them did not see any other cultivators. After all, no one could keep up with their speed and reach the depths of the Demon Saint's tomb so quickly except for the great sovereigns. Moreover, since everyone entered the tomb from different directions, Long Yu and Red Oriole wouldn't encounter too many great sovereigns along the way. Therefore, Long Yu and Red Oriole's journey was very smooth. However, the closer they got to the depths of the tomb, the fewer treasures floating in the void. According to Ji Tao's remnant soul, the closer they got to the depths of the Demon Saint's tomb, the closer they were to the places destroyed by the Star River explosion. Even endless level fighters couldn't survive in the core. Even if there were, they had gradually drifted in from the periphery of the Demon Saint's tomb over the past 1,000 years. That was why there were so few of them. As for the rainbow crystal powder in the center of the tomb, Ji Tao wasn't worried. Demon Saint Thunderfire's corpse was placed together with the rainbow crystal powder, which was surrounded by the strongest material in the world, Black Domain Divine Stone. Black Domain Divine Stone was so strong that even the Star River explosion couldn't destroy it. From this point of view, even if Long Yu and Red Oriole obtained the coffin made of Black Domain Divine Stone, it would be very difficult for them to get the rainbow crystal powder out. Of course, Red Oriole and Long Yu believed Ji Tao when she said she had a way. There was no benefit in lying to them. After a full 3 days, Long Yu and Red Oriole were getting closer and closer to the depths of the Demon Saint's tomb. The others were probably still relatively far away, at least 3 to 5 days away from the center of the tomb. Even the great sovereigns were no exception. If Long Yu and Red Oriole were to rely on their own strength, it would take them at least 5 days to arrive. Therefore, one could imagine that other Sovereign Realm experts would need at least 3 to 5 days to arrive. On the other hand, Long Yu was rather glad that he had the remnant soul of the young girl Ji Tao. Not only did this young girl miraculously survive until now, she was also kind-hearted. This made Long Yu think of the Death Envoy from before. The Envoy of Death had also relied on a wisp of his remnant soul to exist for countless years. Zhang Xian had no idea what kind of means this was. If there was a chance, he would have to ask about it. The two arrived at the center of the Demon Saint's tomb. This was the real Demon Saint's tomb. Outside of this place, there were only ordinary voids affected by the Star River explosion. There were no buildings or anything like that. What appeared in front of Long Yu and Red Oriole was an incomparably magnificent palace. Purple lightning and white flames formed the base of the entire palace. It was extremely imposing. This palace was made up of a vast complex of buildings. Long Yu and Red Oriole directly stepped into it. Upon arriving here, The lightning fire secret technique that Long Yu had cultivated previously came in handy, because in this vast building complex, there would be many lightning fire traps. If someone who did not know the truth came here, they would definitely fall into the ambush of the lightning fire traps. It was very likely that they would be heavily injured or even killed. Fortunately, they had Ji Tao's guidance, so the two shouldn't encounter too much trouble as they advanced. Long Yu was ready to use the lightning fire secret technique at any time. Soon, they encountered the first lightning fire trap near the gap between two buildings. Here, use the lightning fire secret technique to condense divine runes of any attribute. As long as you use the lightning fire secret technique, you can temporarily suppress this trap and prevent it from exploding. Following Ji Tao's words, Long Yu began to use the third stage of the lightning fire secret technique to condense the power of the 9 nether divine runes. Then, he covered the place Ji Tao pointed to. Soon, he felt that some kind of power was suppressed, which made Long Yu breathe a sigh of relief. "All right," Ji Tao said. Long Yu nodded. Then, Red Oriole took the lead and smoothly passed through the gap between the buildings, reaching the depths of the Demon Saint's tomb. Since the buildings in the void did not have many directions, these buildings all had doors in 6 directions. Once inside, they would enter a square-shaped hall. There should have been a lot of good things stored in it. Unfortunately, after the destruction of the Star River burst and thousands of years of experience, the things in these small buildings had all been destroyed. Even these buildings were riddled with holes and looked extremely dilapidated. Each of these buildings was made of very hard materials and reinforced with many first-class divine rune crystals. However, they could not withstand a single blow from the Star River burst and were directly destroyed. The power of the Star River burst was indeed a huge disaster for the cultivation world. Long Yu and Red Oriole kept temporarily suppressing the lightning fire traps. Then, they constantly passed through the buildings and got closer to the center of the Demon Saint's tomb. During this period of time, Long Yu began to trust the young girl Ji Tao more and more, because it was Ji Tao who pointed out the location of the lightning and fire mechanism, as well as instructed them to suppress it, allowing them to safely pass through and smoothly reach the largest palace. This hall was engraved with patterns of purple lightning and white flames. It was the symbol of the lightning fire demons. The entire hall was more than 10 times larger than the other small halls around it. This was the center of the entire Demon Saint's tomb. It was also where Demon Sage Lightning Fire's corpse was buried. When they arrived at the central hall of the tomb, Ji Tao, who had been rather talkative along the way, became somewhat silent. It was as though she had recalled the past matters regarding Demon Sage Lightning Fire. Red Oriole was a woman after all. She was somewhat sentimental. She could not help but say to Ji Tao, "Why don't you tell us about you and your grandfather, Demon Sage Lightning Fire? I'm not very sure about what happened 1,000 years ago. I only heard that Demon Sage Lightning Fire was a hero and role model for us demons." Okay, Ji Tao agreed. In fact, she was still immersed in reminiscing about the past. In such a tomb was her grandfather, who had died 1,000 years ago, Demon Sage Lightning Fire. In fact, if it wasn't for the galaxy burst, Ji Tao would probably be a powerful expert of the lightning fire demons. She would definitely be in existence at the Great Ruler Realm. In fact, she might even be an important figure in the entire demon race. But now, only a remnant soul remained. It barely survived in the lightning fire Saber. The two girls began chatting. As for Long Yu, he wasn't interested in Demon Sage Lightning Fire's past. He began searching around the largest hall and constantly used lightning fire mystic arts to suppress the lightning fire traps. After continuously suppressing the lightning fire mechanism along the way, Long Yu had gained some experience in finding the lightning fire mechanism. Now that he was trying to find the lightning fire mechanism based on his own experience, he was able to find it. The key difficulty was that the lightning fire traps in the largest hall were connected together. He had to first find all the lightning fire traps in a group and quickly suppress them in a short period of time. Otherwise, they wouldn't be effective. If a cultivator passed by, the lightning fire traps in the group would immediately erupt. This kind of chain mechanism was not rare in the Demon Saint tomb. To Long Yu, it could be considered as a big test. Red Oriole didn't cultivate the lightning fire mystic arts anyway, and she couldn't help Long Yu. She could chat with Ji Tao if she wanted to. It wouldn't affect anything. In the surroundings of the largest palace hall, there were a total of 10 groups of lightning fire traps. Each group had 5 to 20 lightning fire traps, and Long Yu had a hard time searching for them. Fortunately, he had the relevant experience, and, coupled with his cautious personality, he was able to slowly eliminate these 10 groups of lightning fire traps. If he used the lightning fire mystic arts to deal with the lightning fire traps, he could only temporarily suppress them. They wouldn't erupt for 4 hours. Therefore, Long Yu had to be fast. If he couldn't deal with all the lightning fire traps in 4 hours, the first suppressed lightning fire trap would activate again. Therefore, if Long Yu wasn't fast enough, he would never be able to enter the largest hall. Thankfully, Long Yu was very adept at suppressing the lightning fire traps along the way. Now, even though he was facing dozens of hidden lightning fire traps, he was still very fast. In less than 4 hours, Long Yu suppressed all the lightning fire traps around the hall. Red Oriole, I'm done. Let's go in. Long Yu called out to Red Oriole, and then took the lead to fly into the tomb hall. Of course, he first summoned a 9 nether hunter to fly in front of him, in case he encountered any accidents that caught him off guard. On the other side, Red Oriole and the young girl Ji Tao did not continue chatting. However, in just 4 hours, the two girls had become much more familiar and intimate with each other than before. Red Oriole collected her thoughts and followed Long Yu. Then, they stepped into the largest hall together. The entire palace was extremely spacious. Half of the palace was purple lightning, and the other half was white flames. In the middle of this blue and white palace, a pure black stone coffin floated. That black stone coffin must have been refined from black domain divine stone. It was rumored to be the hardest material in the world. Even the galactic current could not destroy it. Long Yu noticed that the walls of the palace were covered in cracks due to the impact of the galactic currents. Some of the walls were so dilapidated that one could even see the outside of the walls. Some of the walls were pierced through and looked extremely dilapidated. Chapter 1138. Long Yu and Red Oriole walked into the center of the hall and arrived in front of the black stone coffin. Under the control of Ji Tao's remnant soul, the Thunderfire Een Saber flew out of Red Oriole's small world and silently hovered around the black stone coffin. All right, let's hurry up and do it. Otherwise, we'll have to close the thunder and fire mechanisms around the hall one by one. It'll take at least 4 hours. Long Yu waved his hand and said to the Thunderfire Een Saber, "What method do you think we can use to break open this stone coffin made of black domain divine stone?" Only Ji Tao knew the method to break open the stone coffin. It's impossible to break open the black domain divine stone with brute force, so you have to be skillful. Basically, all advanced weapon refinement masters will smelt the black domain divine stone. However, due to the characteristics of the black domain divine stone, every weapon refinement master has a different method to break open the black domain divine stone. The remnant soul of Ji Tao said, "I know the method to break open my grandfather's stone coffin, but you have to swear not to destroy my grandfather's body. Can you do that?" "You can rest assured. We only want the rainbow crystal powder. Besides, once the rainbow crystal powder is taken away, no one else will come here and disturb your grandfather." Red Oriole nodded. Even Long Yu nodded. He had no interest in the old man's corpse, let alone destroy the Thunderfire Demon Sage's body. Why would he do something that had no benefits to him? Although the old man might have many good things on him, it was enough for Long Yu to obtain the rainbow crystal powder. He couldn't be too greedy. Furthermore, he had obtained all of this because of Ji Tao. Long Yu didn't want to violate her request. When Ji Tao saw the two of them nod in agreement, she told them the method to break open the stone coffin made of black domain divine stone, so that Long Yu and Red Oriole knew. Of course, cracking the sarcophagus still required the use of the Thunderfire secret technique, so Red Oriole could not help much. Only Long Yu could work on it. Fortunately, the process of breaking the stone coffin was not difficult. Long Yu only spent 1 incense stick's worth of time to break it. After that, the entire stone coffin began to melt and a small hole appeared. Hey, there's only such a small hole that can be opened. Quickly take out the rainbow crystal powder, Ji Tao urged. Long Yu remained vigilant. Even now, he still didn't fully trust the remnant soul of Ji Tao. But soon, he knew that this girl didn't have any ulterior motives. She didn't lie to him. As Long Yu performed the thunder fire secret technique and condensed the divine symbols, he finally took out a pile of powder from the hole in the sarcophagus. The powder showed different colors: red, orange, red, green, cyan, blue, and purple. It was exactly the 7 colors of the rainbow. The 7 colors of the powder were mixed together, and it seemed impossible to separate them. No matter how fine it was, it definitely contained 7 colors. These 7 colors seemed to have completely fused together, but it seemed that they could be distinguished from each other. It was very magical. The weight of the pile of rainbow crystal powder was exactly the 7 taels that Ji Tao had mentioned. According to the market price in the demon race's territory, it was enough to sell for 140 billion demon coins. Even for the Blood Demon clan, this was a huge sum of money. Even Red Oriole had never held so much money before. She couldn't help but brighten up. It wasn't that Red Oriole had never seen such a valuable item before, but she had rarely owned it herself. To be honest, there were a lot of good items in the Blood Demon clan, but they were all the property of the Blood Demon clan. Even Red Oriole was not qualified to touch them. Brother Long, we're rich. Red Oriole's eyes were shining. All right, let's get out of here. It'll be bad if someone catches up to us and sees us. Long Yu waved his hand. He was quite happy in his heart. After putting away the rainbow crystal powder, he turned around and left. Red Oriole didn't ask Long Yu for the rainbow crystal powder. Instead, she quickly picked up the thunderous flame saber and followed Long Yu out of the large palace at the center. After they left, the pitch-black sarcophagus in the center of the palace slowly closed up. The small hole that Long Yu had made on the black domain divine stone gradually returned to its original state, as if no one had ever been there. There was a total of 7 taels of rainbow crystal powder. Long Yu didn't need that much. I have 4 rainbow stone eggs. I only need 4 taels of rainbow crystal powder. I'll give the remaining 3 taels to Red Oriole. Long Yu had never forgotten that he was working with Red Oriole. Even though he had given Red Oriole the cultivation method for balance control, that was a different matter altogether. He still had to give Red Oriole what she needed. Thus, after coming out of the palace, Long Yu prepared to leave. He took out 3 taels of rainbow crystal powder and handed it to Red Oriole. You really don't want it? Actually, if you want it, you can take all of it. I have no use for it. Even if you give it to me, I'll just sell it for money. Red Oriole smiled leisurely. Then I'll keep it for now. We'll talk about it after we leave this tomb. All right, what does Sister Ji Tao plan to do? Are you leaving with us, or? Long Yu thought of the young girl, Ji Tao's remnant soul, that was still inside the thunderous flame saber. I'll go with you guys. There's nothing left for me to miss here anyway. I want to go back to the thunderous fire demonic tribe to take a look, the young girl Ji Tao said cautiously. Right now, she was truly afraid that Long Yu and Red Oriole would turn their backs on her. If they were to shatter her remnant soul on the spot, she wouldn't be able to resist at all. The only thing she was confident in was that she had only told the 2 of them the cultivation method for the first 3 layers of the thunderous flame secret technique. If Long Yu and Red Oriole completely shattered her soul, they wouldn't be able to learn the cultivation method for the rest of the technique. However, Red Oriole truly liked Ji Tao. As for Long Yu, he didn't have any interest in harming young girls. Ji Tao was already very pitiful. The sudden star burst had destroyed her in an instant. Long Yu didn't want to bully such a pitiful young girl's remnant soul. Then let's take a walk on Thunderous Flame. Red Oriole nodded, making the decision on behalf of Long Yu. In any case, it wouldn't take much time. But we can't just go out like this. Little brother Long, let's quickly change our appearances. Otherwise, we might run into someone and be recognized. Red Oriole said to Longyu. That's what I was thinking. Longyu nodded. Then, he used the Book of Shadows' divine ability and transformed himself into a kitten. On the surface, this kitten looked like an ordinary kitten. It wasn't a demonic beast cultivator. It didn't have any martial Dao cultivation. It was just an ordinary pet. Seeing this, Red Oriole nodded with a satisfied smile. If we were to leave as one man and one woman, even if we changed our appearances, people would still be suspicious. However, it's good that you've turned into a kitten. After saying that, Red Oriole turned into a charming woman, dressed in pink chiffon. She hugged Longyu, who had turned into a kitten, and flew towards the periphery of the Demon Saint tomb, sticking close to her fair and flawless skin. Red Oriole's illusion transformation ability was absolutely first-rate. Her attainments in this aspect had definitely surpassed many ordinary Sovereign Realm cultivators. Even if her younger brother, Red Monarch, was standing in front of her, he wouldn't necessarily be able to recognize her, let alone other cultivators who weren't familiar with her to begin with. A flirtatious woman carrying a kitten in her arms traversed the endless pitch-black void. It was extremely suspicious. However, at this moment, Red Oriole's aura was actually that of Sovereign Realm expert. Even Longyu was impressed by her ability to disguise herself. At most, Longyu could rely on balance control to conceal his aura. However, Red Oriole was able to disguise herself as a Sovereign Realm expert. Longyu had to admit that he was inferior to her. Soon, the two of them encountered their first person. It was a middle-aged woman who was also a Sovereign Realm expert. The two of them didn't say anything when they met, and simply walked away. The middle-aged woman seemed to have obtained quite a few good things in the demonic saint tomb. She ignored Red Oriole and headed deeper into the tomb. Red Oriole's route was very particular. She didn't go straight out, but in a circle. This way, if they met someone, they wouldn't think that she came out from the center, and it would save them a lot of trouble. Longyu transformed into a kitten and was held in Red Oriole's arms. Feeling the soft and warm skin, he couldn't help but feel a little restless. However, he quickly suppressed it and began to think about refining the rainbow stone eggs and rainbow crystal powder. Longyu had 4 rainbow stone eggs. The main colors were red, black, blue, and white. They could be used to refine the Devil Speed Pill, Void Travel Pill, 8 Extreme Blood Pill, and Sacred Soul Heavenly Pill, respectively. Among them, the Devil Speed Pill and Void Travel Pill could greatly increase a cultivator's compatibility with divine runes. The 8 Extreme Blood Pill could give birth to the 8 Extreme Bloodline. The Sacred Soul Heavenly Pill was equivalent to a strengthened version of the Devil Dust Heart. After consuming it, one would be able to regenerate an unlimited number of fleshly bodies within 2 hours. No matter which pill it was, its effects were definitely at a heaven-defying level. It could raise a cultivator's strength by a large level, so Longyu was rather concerned about it. Other than the Rainbow Stone Egg and the Rainbow Crystal Powder, he would need a lot of supplementary materials to refine these 4 pills. However, they were all relatively common materials. Although their value was not low, with Longyu's current assets, it should not be difficult to buy them. The key was that he no longer needed rare materials like the Rainbow Crystal Powder. As for the alchemist, I don't know if Liao Lele, who has the Bittersea Medicine Cauldron, is qualified to refine this heaven-defying pill. However, after I gather all the ingredients, I can let her give it a try. Longyu thought to himself. His next plan was to go to the exchange hall and buy all the remaining auxiliary alchemy materials he needed. After that, he could prepare to start concocting pills. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.